So, what are we going to watch here? All right, let's watch Kanye West walk out on Tim Pool. How's that? You guys want to do that? Let's see what old Yee has to say about the state of the world, or what he doesn't say. Jeremy Moby says, I see why manga is overtaking Western comics in the States politically, but I must question the 21 plus section of the manga store. Yeah, a little bit here. Brissinger says, Dave Hodges objects. He objects to this. All right, so I guess Kanye West stopped over at Timcast. Didn't stay very long. See what happened.
Week there was a particularly big news story that's resulted in a continued news cycle, which is now going on for over a week, which is in many ways unheard of. But right now, because Donald Trump went to dinner with Ye and Nick Fuentes, among others, he is now being denounced by Mike Pence, several Republican senators, and for whatever reason, this story, for many reasons I suppose people have made, this story has persisted till today. And we are able to actually sit down with several of the individuals involved in that story, notably Ye, Nick Fuentes, and Mel Yiannopoulos, of course, who made the dinner happen. It's my understanding, or at least got the.
I had the dinner invite before I met Milo.
Okay, my bad. There you go. So we're gonna.
Kanye's like, nah, dog, nah.
Jump right into
I
this
just
news story.
overcomplicated it.
Absolutely. So we're gonna start with that, and there's a lot we want to talk about. And you know what, man, this is a very big story. A lot of people have questions about, what were Trump's intentions, why were certain people invited, and Trump, of course, has issued statements. So a lot of people want to know where he stands, and more importantly, what happened there and why. And there's also the questions about what Ye 24 means, and I'll keep that a little bit vague so that they can answer to that and speak more to that. And then, of course, we're going to get into a lot of different issues. However, head over to timcast.com and become a member. We're going to have a members-only uncensored show, which will probably get a bit more in-depth on a lot of other issues. That I'll just leave it at that. Timcast.com, become a member, support our work, and we'll talk about more there.
Brissinger says, the drama at Timcast, ongoing. Yes, actually. Yeah, I was following that along over the weekend. I think Tim kind of bodied that Adam dude. Honestly.
Smash the like button, subscribe.
Hagrid says Kanye fucked up by not snatching that greasy hat off his dome.
To this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us, as I mentioned, we have Ye himself. Would you like to introduce yourself, good sir?
You did it.
There you go. I think everybody knows.
No. He's... Kanye West does not introduce himself, sir. He does not do that. Like, you have to do literally everything for him.
You are. And which of you gentlemen would like to introduce yourself?
Nicholas, please.
Hi, yeah, I'm Nick Fuentes. First time here on the Timcast. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. What do you do?
Oh, I'm a live streamer. I do a
This shit is so awkward, even from the beginning. It's just so awkward and weird.
show called America First on cozy.tv.
All right. And of course, Milo, you were here a couple weeks ago.
Yes, I'm your best ever guest.
So we've been told that the episode with you was one of the best podcasts ever. People really enjoyed hearing you speak.
I think that's accurate.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
thanks for coming back.
Thanks. I was wondering how I was going to.
Honestly, the Milo podcast is a pretty good podcast because it's just Milo Yiannopoulos talking for 2 hours. And he does not allow them to get a word in edgewise, almost barely. But Milo Yiannopoulos is a snake. He's a savvy political operator. He's found a way in. As this interview goes on, or this segment goes on, whatever the fuck it is, I think you're going to see that Kanye West maybe is involved with people he doesn't really understand.
To make it even more extraordinary the second time I visited, but I think I might have pulled it off.
Luke's here.
Total Sausage Fest tonight. Welcome. My name is Luke Radowski of wearechange.org. Today I'm wearing my Didn't Epstein Himself t-shirt, which you could get on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And I think we should be using that word a little bit more, just like, this YouTube channel didn't Epstein itself. And if...
Oh my God, Luke, calm down. Prophet says, notice how Paul isn't here. He's been real quiet since he published your Street Fighter review and not mine. Cut and run, bro. Whoa. Brissinger says he has drunk more weird coffee than anyone. He's going for the record. He's going for the record. Jeremy says, will Tim Pool ever grow a hat of hair again? Maybe.
If this YouTube channel is Epsteined, we will be streaming on Twitter. So yeah, I started a t-shirt company after YouTube demonetized me. So thebestpoliticalshirts.com, because you guys buy it. That's why I'm here. Thank you so much for having me.
And of course, Serge.
And I am Serge.com. Pleasure, guys.
All right. And I'll just pull up this story from The Hill, which is from earlier today at 5 p.m. Pence says Trump should apologize. It's wrong to give anti-Semite a seat at the table.
So this is how he starts his interview with this dude? You got to like ease him into it, ease him into the story. You could just start off with like asking him, like, so you're running for president. What is Ye24? What is your platform? What are you going to do? No. That's not how they do it over on Timcast. Oh.
This, of course, is related to a dinner that happened, and I was wrong a little on the details. So a dinner happened. Nick, you were there. Yay, you were there. I just want to start off by, how did this dinner come to happen, and what happened?
I was talking to Trump for about a month. We had scheduled the dinner in October, and then he announced for president. He pushed the dinner back to November. And I've been pulling together a campaign. And after I put up the DEF CON tweet, a bunch of people that have been...
See, he's saying it correctly. He's saying DEF CON, but he wrote DEF CON. Just saying.
Canceled, like Alex Jones. I started getting in contact with other people that were now on the inside of the matrix. And Alex Jones...
Jeremy says, can't trust anyone with frizz Gen Z hair. Yeah, this Surge guy. Who is he? What's going on with this dude?
Producer said that Milo wanted to contact me. And here we are.
So that's how you guys...
That Milo... So that's how he's running his things now? Some guy said Milo wanted to contact you, and now Milo is part of your entourage. Careful, ye.
Has got in contact.
Yeah, originally, and then I suggested that we bring in Nicholas as a enormous extra brain firepower that he is. Most extraordinarily brilliant political commentator of his generation, and he's been treated just about as badly as anybody. So I thought he deserved to be in the room too. And that's pretty much how.
No. Now, I don't like Nick Fuentes, but I can agree that he has been treated atrociously. The deplatforming of Nick Fuentes is pretty astounding. It's pretty ridiculous. But that's not why Milo wanted him there. Come on now. Do you think Milo is just like, oh, well, just bring Nick Fuentes so he can just speak his piece and nobody will care and nothing will matter? I mean, come on, dude. Come on. I really honestly, like, before we watch any of this, I guarantee you Milo Yiannopoulos set this up in a way that he knew what was going to happen. He totally 100% knew what was going to happen. He has an axe to grind. He feels personally affronted by Donald Trump. And I think this was his way to try to wound him. Brissinger says, Bri, he's obviously getting hardballed here. Well, not really. Not yet, anyways. Maybe he will. I don't know.
We'll go together.
So I have some questions about that, but we'll get through the dinner portion of how exactly this happened, what went down. So this is how.
So Tim's coming in here with an agenda. He wants to hear about the dinner. He wants to hear about the dinner and the details of the dinner and what was said and who said what to who, because that's the big news story. This is the big scoop. I don't think Tim really actually cares about any of the other stuff, or even really cares about like Kanye West in general. I really don't. It's just this was an event. This could have been an event for his channel. A lot of eyeballs are going to be on something like this just because he's there. Brissinger says, I bet Nick Fuentes was glad he wasn't getting targeted for once. Maybe so. I think Nick Fuentes is in on the grift. He's in on the troll. I don't know if Kanye is, though. I don't know if old Yee is really in on what's going on. I think he's found himself some new handlers.
How you get in contact, the three of you. How is it that Nick ends up invited to this dinner, and what happened?
Well, he was rolling with me. I was impressed with Nick, and I was like, just come to the dinner. And we had Karen Giorno pick us up from the airport. And there was a lot of back and forth. There's another gentleman named Jamar Monk.
Brissinger says this is like trying to interview Sylvester Stallone. Yes, in the way that Stallone was going to talk about whatever the fuck Stallone wants to talk about. It doesn't matter what questions you ask him. He's just gonna do what he wants to do. At least back in the day. If you go back to like 80s Stallone, he was very much like that. Very much a prima donna.
Montgomery that was with us. It's he's an engineer at Boeing, and
I'm telling him we should raise everyone's volume.
Okay, cool. And we sat there, and it was like when Trump came in, I said, do you want to sit alone? He's like, no, bring your friends in. So a big thing is like Trump had no idea who Nick Fuentes was.
See, now Yi just let something slip there, that Trump did not know who Nick Fuentes was, because all the news surrounding this event is basically that Nick Fuentes was there. They don't even care that Kanye was there because they know they can use Nick Fuentes as a cudgel against Trump. And now Yi is revealing that Trump didn't even have any idea who this dude was. Didn't even know who he was.
I just got to go right to the heart of this anti-Semite claim that's happening. This is something, if you read the definition, it says you can't claim that there's multiple people inside of banks or in media that are all Jewish, or you're anti-Semitic. And that's the truth. Like, it's the truth. What are we talking about? And
Elaborate. What do you mean? You mean?
I'm saying, like, I've been labeled anti-Semite, right? So there's different beliefs about our bloodlines, like the documentary that Kyrie posted. And in general, America.
Kyrie Irving also thinks that the earth is flat. I'm just saying.
Has been left ignorant, and history has been changed. So when we start questioning things that question the
Jeremy says, Yi wears headphones the way I do recording city council meetings at my part-time job. Well, Jeremy, you're just the fucking coolest. Brissinger says, Nick Fuentes is cruising for an Epstein. Laugh out loud. Maybe, because this is definitely all a big joke for them. This is a big joke for Fuentes and for Milo Yiannopoulos. This is a big psyop. This is a big fucking joke for them. This dude, who, however you feel about him, does seem a little unstable. He seems a little scattered, a little all over the place, which I can understand. A lot of pressure, dude. A lot of fucking pressure. A lot of bad shit happening to him in the past month. So, you got to give him a little bit of leeway. Cut him a little bit of slack. But those other dudes, they're there just to capitalize on this. This is a giant meme. For somebody like Nick Fuentes, Milo Yiannopoulos. This is a giant fucking meme. Psyop. And they're just fucking with this dude. He's writing him checks. They're cashing him.
Indoctrination, then you immediately get, you said debanked, or what did you say happened to you, or
demonetized, deplatformed?
Demonized, demonetized. And what's so beautiful about this time is everyone got to see what's really been happening. And now we can really understand. We can see that Ron Emanuel was right next to Obama, and then Jared Kushner was right next to Trump. Ta-da!
But so you.
Hold on, I got you, Yi. I got you. So, like, he's not articulated himself at all. Not very well.
So we're getting right into it, I guess, right? I was hoping to go for the news first before we got into all of this stuff. I think the issue is one way to put it is you're expounding upon a localization issue that you've witnessed, right? Let me clarify. There are a handful of people that you see are Jewish in a certain place, and then you associate Judaism with the power, whereas I view that as not relevant to it. Like, yeah, you're substantially more powerful than I am, but I don't view what you're doing as an issue of black people.
Yeah, but have you ever heard the term the black vote? So it's okay to put us in one net, but it's not okay for me to put them in one net.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's the basis of the hypocrisy that people have been thinking about and knowing about and realizing for decades. We were all wondering.
Oh my God, it's Lord Varys.
How this dam was going to break. Everybody in the country was wondering, what is the root of this hypocrisy? Why can people talk about white people a certain way? Why can't they talk about that group a certain way? And the wretched and wicked and oppressive prevailing orthodoxy of cancel culture, well, it turned out that the one thing that was going to break the dam was the biggest star in the world, and it took the biggest star in the world to do it. And now the dam...
He sounds like David Icke. He has the same cadence as David Icke. Brissinger says, really, Tim, were you really just going to do the news first? That's what he said. Although he brings up a story that specifically has the word anti-Semite in it about Pence, because he wanted to use that as an entrance into a conversation about the dinner and how the dinner happened. But it's like, well, if you bring up a fucking article that has the word anti-Semite in the title, you got to expect these things to happen.
Dam is broken.
So let me tell you my issue. I don't like identitarianism. You guys are familiar with what that is?
Well, they started...
Except when he does. He uses identitarianism all the time, especially when he's talking about his upbringing and being, what was he, like half Korean? He brings it up quite a bit.
And they've been visiting on us. We're trying to break it.
When I was asking you about running for president, you immediately said, well, you'd be good for the black vote. And I said, is that because I'm black? No, not just because of that. So is that, are you doing the same thing?
I didn't say that was the only reason. I said it was because you're personable to the common person, and you probably would do well with the black vote. Absolutely.
Hagbard brings the truth. He says, I think Ike believes what he's saying, while Milo's saying what he thinks will bring him money and cocks. Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
Just because I'm black, there's a lot of black people that don't like me.
Of course. I think race plays a role in a lot of things. Absolutely. And I think that's
I think the construct of race has really been forced upon us as just something for us to be woke about and just constantly talk about and use it as these like walls.
Couldn't you say the same thing about Judaism?
Well, let's look at the facts of what I'm saying, though. If you say in this neighborhood where they gerrymander, there's this amount of time. So, hey, I wasn't doing that. I was just gerrymandering the lawyers and the Hollywood executives and the people at the bank that debanked me and then froze my accounts. It's like we want to jump into protecting the idea that we can't put a net around something, right? But that's been my job as a producer, to take, a Roy Ayers sample and put a James Brown drum and put it within a 2-minute, 3-minute song. That's the way I actually think, and that's the way I talk. And now this morning I found out that they were trying to put me in prison because what they did was I moved $140 million into JP Morgan. And I said, I want to talk to Jamie Dimon. Like, look at me. I'm just going in naive, multi-billionaire. Like, maybe Jamie Dimon will let me in on some deal flow. Wrong. And I'm just like banging my hands like.
Everybody's laughing like they know what the fuck he's talking about. They're like, oh, Kanye.
I want to meet with Jamie. And I start complaining online. And then they debank me for complaining. And so I'm about to get debanked. They're like, you need to go to Trump's, the bank, AXO, whatever. You got to go. And I'm like, I've been trying to buy my own bank for the longest. And then we figured out how to get my own bank. It's like 50 million, 75 million. So I'm about to buy my own bank. But then as they're about to take the money out, here comes Adidas with a $275 million bill for marketing funds that they agreed upon. Because I said to them, hey, I'm the marketing, give me the marketing fund. which proves by the response they got when they, stole the designs and said, we're going to not call them Yeezys anymore. So this is what I was already fighting Adidas for. So I'm fighting Gap, get out of Gap, fighting Adidas. And then I deal with this little bit of noise from, Zionism from the fashion world, where they use this plant named Gabby, who's obviously like some kind of CIA agent, knows nothing about fashion. This is a certain thing. When someone can't dress, you know that they're not like a fashion person. They're just there.
And you know that they're a CIA plant. That's what they know. Bersinger says, yeah, exactly. They know what it's like to be a billionaire.
As like the society, like the control that they try to use with celebrities, which has now been broken, right? Because where it broke. Okay. I want to get on like LeBron in a second, but I'm gonna come back.
Jerry Moby says, still waiting on Yee's views on the Hoteps. Well, he does believe in. Well, actually, no, not the Hoteps. He's in the camp of the Black Hebrew Israelites, because he makes the claim that I can't. Well, he was making the claim that he couldn't be anti-Semitic. Because he's actually Jewish, because of the cradle of civilization, etc.
Back to this and just talk about this morning where, I'm not going to mention her name because she's a nice lady, but someone at Cohen Resnick tells me, and I tell all of my finance people, never use the term a lot, but they said, okay, you're going to have to pay a lot of taxes. And that made me feel like they're just like waiting, like we finally got them. We finally can put him in jail. And I was like, can I still run for president in jail? I found out I could. So I was like, okay, that's fine then. It'll be okay.
But if you were Jeffrey Epstein, they wouldn't touch your bank account. They would allow you to break the rules, regulations, just like JP Morgan and Chase did, just like Deutsche Bank did. So there is an issue to bring up with that. But when it comes to the race stuff, I think this is an important discussion to have, because I
have to complete this thought. You guys got to.
Okay, go ahead.
It's like, you fucking interrupted me, dude. What are you talking about? I'm talking about fucking Yeezys and Adidas and big money deals. What are you talking about?
All right, because I'm talking about literally finding out that they were trying to put me in prison this morning. Watch this. So
This morning.
Yes. So not come to my house this morning, but I found out, okay, so they put a $75 million hold on 4 of my accounts. And then they said, you owe a lot of taxes. Took me like 6 hours to find out how much a lot was. They said, well, around $50 million. Now I'm going to different CFOs like, okay, so would this be tax evasion? Because I'm obviously not the most financially literate person on the planet. I was just a child, basically. Like, when you become famous, you stop growing at that point. I became famous at age 24, and I had handlers around. I had my mom around, different things. And it was always like you go from one handler to the next handler to the next handler. So now I get to actually learn how to run a company. I get to learn how to, to count. Really, I was like Pablo in a movie. It was like I didn't even know where to put the money, like literally making $300 million cash, but you're just like a high-priced, we're not going to use the S word just because it's just like too passe to use it, but it's like next,
Yeah, you become a commodity. You become a commodity to everyone around you, and they want to extract as much wealth from your person as humanly possible.
Next year I was supposed to make $500 million in royalties, and like no one needs this amount of money. But when I would work on homeless shelters and ideas, I'd have a contractor, we won't say what race, and they'd be tearing down the contracts. It's all about position. It's not about the amount of money that you have. And, to come in here, I feel like it's a setup to be like defending. I'm not going to go through I'm literally going to walk the F off the show if I'm sitting up here having to, talk about, you can't say that it was Jewish people that did it, when every sensible person knows that. I mean, Jon Stewart knows what happened to me, and they took it too far. It was like American History X. Like, my head was on the side of the curve, and the exact people that I called out kicked my head. We found out that my trainer was a MK Ultra Canadian intelligence.
He worked in the defense research and development in the Canadian military, essentially working on psyops
Who's this
in the
guy?
Canadian military. This is Harley Pasternak.
Yeah, what I'm saying
Harley Pasternak. Maybe we'll check him out.
is, look, They tried to medicate me. I was exhausted. They wrongly diagnosed me. And they when I asked them, how much lithium did you want to put me on exactly? It took them 4 days to answer because they were embarrassed about the amount, right? And I refused to take this, right? You understand that if I had taken the medication, I would not be here, and it would have been, he was deeply troubled. We miss him. We love his music, though.
Well, they would have Britney Spears.
Well, I mean, he's not wrong about that. They do this to celebrities all the time. All the time. When you lose control of your empire, like I said, when you are a commodity, they're looking to just extract things from you. So they probably wanted to dope Kanye up and then just sit back and collect. He gets to live his barely alive existence, and they get to just sit back and collect a check. 100% believe that. They're going to bring up the Britney Spears thing. You know, Britney Spears, you know, just like Kanye, they seem like they're not the most, like, well-adjusted human beings on the planet. But does that mean that they should be put under, like, conservatorships and being fed lithium for 10 years? Probably not. Probably, especially in the case of Britney Spears, it seemed like a case of celebrity meets, like, being overworked, etc. Jeremy says, wearing an Epstein hoodie does wonders.
Where's true? I mean, look at
They would have Michael Jackson.
or worse, yeah.
So
See, they could have Michael Jacksoned me. So that's what happened to Michael Jackson. That's the conspiracy theory, is that they killed Michael Jackson because he was taking Sony to court for his catalog. He wanted control of his own music back. A little ironic that he bought the Beatles catalog and he was holding on to it, but that's what was happening around the time of his death. Brissinger says, is he talking about being a pureblood? I'm totally with him on that.
Look at what they did to Britney. When she went in, she was tired, she was exhausted, she was in a bad way. But 10 years of that medication wrecked her brain. You can see it now.
Yeah.
You can see there's not much of her left.
you mentioned
You know, he's not wrong about that. Britney Spears is a nut. She's a nut.
Pasternak was the name.
Yes, Harley Pasternak. That's the text message that you posted that we were talking about before.
Here's
That's the lobotomy threat. You know?
Yeah.
Before the show, obviously, I'm getting a bunch of messages from people. People are hitting me up, and they're like, you shouldn't host them. They're anti-Semitic. They're white supremacists. They're racist. I do find it funny or weird, whatever, that, you know, Nick, they call you a white supremacist. You're here working with or for, you know, one of the most powerful black men, one of the wealthiest and most famous. But a lot of people were saying, on the right specifically, don't platform them. And I said, well, I want to understand what they're thinking and why they're thinking it. They're involved in what may be the biggest news story of the past week, and we have an opportunity to sit down and talk.
Because the red media controls both sides. It just said it as simple as possible. Jared Kushner was next to Trump. Ron Emanuel was next to Obama.
But see,
since 1940, go ahead.
I was going to say,
So he's just saying that there's always a Jewish person in proximity to power. That's what he's trying to articulate. The red media, I suppose he's talking about the right-wing media, have an agenda, etc.
isn't that an issue of these individuals? Like you're extrapolating.
I'm going to order with the last of my money that's available in a different account. I'm going to order a PJ before I sit and have another Lex Friedman setup conversation. When I'm literally they're trying to put me in jail for my opinion.
But I get that.
I'm not going to have that opinion. I don't care about people. Those are bots that are trying to tell you. We realize, look at Pence. He sold Trump out. You get what I'm saying? It's like, I would have never wanted to do anything that hurt Trump. I'm on Trump's side.
Well, that's not true, actually. Because he did go to the dinner suggesting that allegedly, that Trump should be his running mate. Trump should be his vice president. That's one of the things. Because he is so fucking crazy in you world. Maybe he thought that was a reasonable thing, but it's all spurred on from Milo. Mostly from Milo. I think Nick is probably just there for the ride. Chuckling along. Having a good old time. Brissinger says that was a low blow to Nick. Nick keeping his mouth shut. Well, it's not. I don't think it's intended to be a low blow. I think it's intended for Tim Pool to kind of congratulate himself for having them on the show. Like, he's just saying, like, you guys are getting shut out of everything, and here you are on the biggest podcast on YouTube, or at least one of them, right? Probably top 5. I'm giving you a platform. And he kind of pats himself on the back a little bit.
Trump said things that hurt me. He lied about me, but I mean, he's known for lying. And when people used to tell me that, you know, he's a liar, it's like, you know, I went into the trenches for Trump. That's another conversation. There was no one in my position that wore that hat. And all of my surroundings exhausted me. It was like death by 1,000 questions. I know I'm jumping to another thing, but what I'm saying is, I know you got a rep for your people online, but it's you got a person in real life that I'm not with it, bro. I lost the money for the freedom of speech, and that's what makes me the only American that we know that really deserves to run the country, because everyone else, your boy DeSantis, Trump, whoever they raise in a petri dish over on the Democrat side is going to play the game.
Look,
and, like,
here's what I was trying to get to. You went right into the anti-Semite thing. I think it's something that should be talked about. But if you start bringing this up, you're going to ask my opinion on it. I'm going to disagree with you.
I didn't ask your opinion on it. You jumped into it.
I
don't care about your opinion. I like your opinion on how we win an election, but I don't care about anybody's opinion, bro. I lost. They tried to put me in jail. They blocked $2 billion I had. Like what I told Farrakhan, I said, look, is it anti-Semitic for me to say his name out loud? Like I
the
told
minister.
Yeah, the minister. Like I tell
Obama met with him too.
Oh, he was. Yeah, I mean the Jewish people allowed Obama to meet with the minister. You know, so Farrakhan said, well, did he have the money? The contract for the next 4 years, if I hadn't done anything, would have been $500 million a year for 4 years. What I was fighting for was the IP, so my children could, I'm sorry, just sometimes I think about 7 thoughts at one time, because anything I see, I come up with like 7 answers to it and then just choose what it is. But the thing is,
Same Kanye. Hybrid says Milo is birthing the Black George Lincoln Rockwell. This time next year, he is going to be a full-on separatist. Yeah, I could believe that. I could believe either that or he's going to be dead.
when I said my children, the reason why my brain kind of blocked, because it's like God is saying, you know, your children are going to be okay. Baby mama's got money, right? God is using me. He's breaking me down, removing all of the, richest person, all of this, so I can serve him. And the more and more those things are taken away from me, the more I can be empty and be a vessel and be able to be used. And right now it's like, you're not going to take, if we can't, you're not going to take my pain away, right? The Jewish people say, it's the Holocaust, this happened, and you can't say anything about it. We can't take their pain away. No one's going to denounce the fact that they tried to lock me up. That's what, because every time I'm just holding stride, and it's like, I thought I was more Malcolm X, but I find out I'm more MLK, because as I'm getting hosed down every day by the press and financially, I'm just standing there. And when I found out that they tried to put me in jail, it was like a dog was biting my...
Brissinger says, blaming him for anti-Semitism when he started out talking about it. Yeah, no, he did. He did. I mean, that was the title of the article, to suggest that, like, oh, well, do you really want to get into this now? Well, there's a claim has been made. A claim has been made. So he's gonna bring it up. He's gonna talk about it. Tim Pool is not a good interviewer. He's actually not a very good journalist, honestly. He's just not. That's not the format of the show either. It's not. And he should have known better. I guess he should have adjusted his thinking about what this episode would have been especially if he was trying to extract information. He clearly wants to talk about the Trump Kanye dinner. That's what he wants to talk about. He wants to get the skinny. He wants to get the details, because that would enter him into the news cycle. If they revealed things about what happened at that meeting, etc., that would be a huge thing for Timcast. And that's what he's doing. Brissinger says there's no way he's being president. No, he's not going to be president. He's just not. He's just not. Even in a fair election, even if he was given a fair shot, I don't think so. I really don't. He's all over the place. He's a manic person. He's really manic. And then you can kind of see it here. I don't know if it's nerves, jitters, whatever. That's what it seems like. That's what it comes off as just jumping from all over the place, desperately trying to connect dots, and not making his points. Like, what he's saying could be accurate, it could be true, but he's not putting those dots together for anybody.
My arm, and I almost shed a tear, almost, but I still walked in stride through it. Yeah.
I think they've been extremely unfair to you.
Who was they though? We can't say they is,
corporate
can we?
press. I'm not using I don't use the word as the way I guess you guys use. I'm talking
It is
about
them, though, isn't it? I mean, because
No.
because when you think about it, consider it. In 2018,
What do you mean it's not?
What do I mean? Like, okay, so how about?
So they just shut down Fuentes. Fuentes he's ready and willing. He's willing to launch into the Fuentes offensive, but that's not what's happening. Kato says Tim needs to dial down the inner Keemstar. I don't know if he can. This is what happens when you're bald.
You leaving?
Are you referring to the press?
He's gone. I'll say it right now.
He's like, why is he leaving? Like, what the fuck happened? He's just like, nope, this is a trap. I will not be trapped.
You guys, you guys want to bring that stuff up, and then
Have
think
the
we're not going to
discussion.
have a
Like,
conversation.
have the discussion.
Like you think Ye's going to come in here and say, "Here's my pain, here's my suffering." I'm going to say, "I hear you," and then he's going to say, "And it was Jewish people," and I'm going to be like, "Okay, but don't you consider?" It's like, I'm not going to do this. I
gotta
refuse.
Go, make sure he's cool.
All right, go for it. Luke and I will have a conversation. So I can't say I'm surprised. What do I even do? Other than ask him, please elaborate on this. Are you referring to individuals, or are you quite literally blaming an entire group of people for the fact that powerful individuals are causing you harm?
I really wanted to ask Nick about his thoughts about MLK, because I know they contradict his comments about that. But again, these are mass generalizations that don't really help anyone in my perspective. They just kind of sound like their opposition. They sound what they're kind of going against, the woke mob that's always saying white men are responsible for everything. When I see people just use generalizations, it kind of cheapens the conversations. It cheapens a dialogue that we could have here that I was planning to talk to Ye about, specifically bringing up like, hey, let's actually talk about this in a real concise way. Let's not get emotional. Let's not walk.
So they were gonna, like, you know, I think Ye, Kanye, whatever the fuck you want to call him, should have to fucking explain himself. If he wants to come on somewhere and just think that everything he says is going to be accepted, well, you shouldn't expect that. But it also shows, to some degree, that there was a struggle session that was planned. 100% there was. But still, walking out at this moment is bitch made. It's bitch made. Kato says, would Tim or anyone else ask questions about the Oscars so white or any other white trope? Oh yeah, I think they do. These people do. These people definitely do. As far as I understand. You know, I don't watch Tim Pool very often anymore. At least not in the past year or so, but I feel like they would. I feel like they do.
Let me tell all you guys outright. I said, this is going to be a big issue. Before the show, obviously, people are going to bring up the questions of anti-Semitism. Why don't we talk about the news? I want to hear what happened with this meeting. I want to understand what Ye 24 is. And then we can do a longer conversation about any of that stuff. And Ye, literally in the first 5 minutes, says no.
He was hoping to keep all of the anti-Semitic stuff for the premium subscribers. That was going to be a premium segment. And Ye blew his lid. He blew his lid. He blew his load too early. But he's saying this kind of with an indignation, as if he didn't bring in an article where the Vice President Pence was calling Kanye West an anti-Semite. Which I just think is fair. It's fair to like be like, whatever. Like, but to act as if like you didn't broach the subject yourself as the host. You definitely did. You definitely did. Jeremy Moby says, Ye and Tim Pool debate 2.0. We can only hope. Maybe someday. We'll get to see these Einsteins, these titans of thought, go to war.
Well, I want to talk about a group of people and point to them. Whatever, man. This, you want to know why? Look, you're not going to sit here and you're going to walk out of the room. You're free to do so, man. But literally, I said a couple sentences about, I don't think that's fair. Did I insult the man? He seriously can't handle. He can't handle it.
He also left during the Pierce Morgan interview he did, but he came back. So again, we should be able to have this conversation. What's up, Chris?
He wants his phone.
Oh, yeah.
Look, man, I wanted to talk to these guys about why they're meeting with Trump.
Chris.
I want to know what happened with the dinner because we hear
Yeah.
a lot of rumors about it.
I want to hear about their.
See, that's Tim's prerogative. That's Tim's prerogative. He's a businessman. He understands. He's like, that's the hot news. That's the hot story. What really happened? What happened in there?
And that's
2024 platform, which they were promising, which they were talking about, like they're going to be officially.
Let me explain to everybody
running.
that unfortunate they walked out. Fine, maybe they'll come back. Whatever. This is the biggest challenge with dealing with identitarianism. I do not believe that the predeterminate factor in someone's worth, value, or agenda is based on immutable characteristics. Kanye is a black man. He does not represent all black people. There are Jewish individuals who work in banks. Dave Chappelle made the joke about Jewish people in Hollywood. And he said, but it doesn't mean anything. You got a lot of black people in Ferguson, doesn't mean they run the place. The point is, I'm all about individualism, meritocracy, personal responsibility.
Well, black people do run Ferguson. If you look at the politicians.
That means an individual of any background can be capable of anything. More importantly, we have employees here who are Jewish, who spend time in Israel, and would probably agree with a lot of issues that they would talk about, especially as it pertains to America first, bringing jobs back here and securing our borders. But then it's just like every step of the way, it's like, bro, if you live in a world where a single group of people is haunting you, you're trapped. You're not going to get out. The issue is you can overcome anything. I understand, and I empathize.
And you did this to himself. This is what happens when you fucking leave during a live show. Then you have to fill time, you have to fill air, and now they get to assert whatever they want to assert about you and about your character. Because it is kind of it's an indication of low character to do that. It is. It means you don't feel confident in the things that you have to say, etc. But Kanye West is such a huge star. He's just been catered to his entire life. He doesn't understand anybody disagreeing with him. I think actually you saw that in the that Lex Friedman interview. They had like some contentious moments, and most of the contention didn't really have to do with what they were saying. It was just because Kanye was challenged in any way. He was given a little bit of pushback, and he kind of just gets very defensive rather than I guess, I don't know, explaining his position better, etc., whatever. But he does seem like he shuts down at pushback. And I feel like that's something that would probably happen regardless of the topic, honestly. Kata says they're Jewish and go to Israel. Why would that be? Oh, I don't know, man.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Probably because their parents are from Israel.
That there are powerful business interests that are coming at Kanye. And I will also say this, because I wanted to get into the Trump stuff. When Kanye mentioned he got suspended on Twitter, then he gets word that Milo wants to meet up with him. Then Milo puts him in touch with Fuentes. My immediate...
Like, how loose is Kanye's, like, web of influence, the people that he listens to, etc., that somehow... He finds himself in his entourage with fucking Milo Yiannopoulos. Milo Yiannopoulos must be way more well connected than most people understand. I mean, like, way more fucking... He must have much more influence than people really understand if he could find himself in this position. Granted, I think this to Milo, this is a troll. This is a grift. They're going to take this dude for some money. They're going to have fun for the next 6 months, and then it's going to be over. And the person that's going to be left picking up the pieces with nothing at the end of this is Kanye West. Kanye West would do better to surround himself with people that don't want to fuck him over. Prof says, Yee on Pac-Man when? Maybe next week. Who knows? Kidda says, a lot of Jews in Israel, but they have no power whatsoever. No, they don't, because most people don't. Most people across the globe don't have any real power or influence or anything.
My question is, okay, my thought to myself, we really want to know about the inner details of this Trump meeting. I guess it's not going to happen. My question then is, don't you think that, if Kanye is going to say these things and then immediately start getting involved with Fuentes, that only amplifies the accusations made against him? But I guess if they genuinely believe these things, that's who they are.
I was dying to interrupt. I was dying to say a whole bunch of stuff during his conversation. I respectively, didn't. I was waiting to counter back, but we didn't even push back at all. Really, we didn't even really say anything crazy out there. I mean, come on. Like we should at least have the tough conversations. We should debate these ideas.
What does he think's going on?
And I don't know, but I just wish people were, again, like, hey, you don't agree with me 100%? That's fine. That's okay. I'm not going to run away. like, come on. Let's have this discussion. Let's have this conversation. I really wanted to talk about Balenciaga. I really wanted to talk about Harley Pasternak. I really wanted to talk about...
Honestly, I would have loved to have heard his thoughts on those things, especially of the fashion industry and weird sex BDSM stuff with kids, about this handler that he had. Harley Pasternak is connected to a lot of celebrities that have fallen under hard times. I think even one of them being Britney Spears. Kid that says, well, I was being sarcastic. I had a feeling.
About Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle talked about, a lot of the things that Ye was warning about, specifically with people trying to drug him, specifically with people trying to, of course, get him on big pharma medicines. He was, again, sent to, he was institutionalized a couple years ago, specifically on November 21st, 2016. He's pointing a lot of this blame on this Harley Pasternak guy, who, again, he's the one who's training Lizzo, Elliot Page. He was training Brittany Murphy. He trained a lot of controversial figures. And he...
Brittany Murphy?
is connected to a Canadian military psyops. That's we should know what else is happening behind the scenes there, what else he knows. But
before the show,
we can't even get that.
Before the show, Ye was like, this was funny. He's like, how do I become president? How do you win? And I thought it was a rhetorical question because, like, why would I know that question? And he was like, hey, man, I asked you a question. What do you think? And I was like, oh, ballot harvesting, like hands down. You go to door to door. He brought it up when he mentioned that I said that he would do well with the black vote. I feel like that's kind of oversimplifying what I said. What I said was that he's a celebrity. He's a personable character. He appeals.
Yeah, but you use the term the black vote as a voting block. So there you go.
Regular people more so. If he knocked on a door and you said Trump, Biden, yay, they'd be like, yay. But I do think that he would do. I do think he would do better with the black vote, simply because there's people who look up to him because they can see themselves in him. Now, let me elaborate. That's actually more of a leftist position, this woke position, because I don't completely disagree with every component of what diversity is. I think that it's true that if you're a little kid growing up in this country and you're not white, but all you ever see on billboards and all you ever see on TV is white people, that means something, that has an effect on you. And that's basically what I'm getting to. All I can really say is this, bro, if I can't ask you questions calmly, like, hey, but don't you think this is like localizing? He could have been like, I don't, I genuinely view it this way. And I'd have said, well, okay, I can only ask you the question. You're allowed to believe.
Well, that's not true. I don't believe that Tim would have been like, oh, okay, sure. That's your perspective, man, and not had follow-up questions. I don't believe that.
Which you want to believe. But dude, like, what did I ask him? Like 3 questions about it? And he just got up and left. Like, he's going to come here and just talk and be uninterrupted. Before we started the show, he said, hey, we're doing this show. Why don't we do it every week? Yeah. And I'm like, what is this? Is because you can't get on any other shows? I'm sorry, bro.
Yes, you were being nice to him. But that is like kind of the construct of Kanye, where he'd be like, whoa, well, let's do this all the time, dude. That manic, impulsive decision making.
This is not a show where you come in and talk by yourself and say whatever you want and say things that are that warrant questioning at the very least.
At least for clarification.
Yeah, I mean, everything should be questioned. Everything should be debated. Everything should be, talked about. We shouldn't stray away from uncomfortable situations. We decide to take things head on. Like, we have our particular viewpoints. They have theirs. It's obviously there's a difference. Obviously, we believe in different things. Let's see which idea is better. Let's see which idea wins out in the public sphere. Let's actually have that conversation. And it's kind of sad that we can't.
Well, I think it's funny that like we got people in.
Yeah, but like we live in a world where like they just lose automatically. Automatically. I don't know if they could articulate themselves well enough to convince anybody, especially in this kind of atmosphere and this kind of paradigm. Probably not. Probably not. So I think they're being a little disingenuous here. I think Tim, honestly, I think he just wanted information about that dinner. That's all he wanted. And he was willing to suffer through everything else to try to get that information because that's good for him. That's a story. It puts Tim Cast in the news cycle.
Super chats who are like, why didn't you just let him keep talking and keep talking?
But that's not how the show works. We cut each other off all the time. I just cut you off right now.
I know.
Right? This is the way we do the show.
Guys, I'm sorry, man. I'm not here to do a show where we let one, like, look, we had Milo come on a couple weeks ago and he mostly just talked. And I think there's something interesting there. Milo had been banned for a really long time and hadn't spoken out in years.
5 years.
Ye's been on a whole bunch of podcasts. So when we were talking about bringing them on, I said, look, man, after the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff, people were like, are you going to get him on the show? And I'm like, I don't want to chase after a dude who, like, he's in the news. Ye goes on Rogan before. He goes on Friedman. And then I'm like, that's cool. They got those conversations. Then we were told we would get Milo, Fuentes, and Ye at the same time, and we could talk about this big news, because that's what we do. We are a topical news show with guests. We are not Joe Rogan Experience. We're not guest interviews. And so with Milo, we had him on, and it turned into something different because the man's been out of the limelight for 5 years and came back and said Trump supporters want revenge.
No, he also just doesn't allow you to interrupt him. That's like Milo Yiannopoulos, a very sharp person, knows how to control a room, as was illustrated at his time at Timcast. Nobody gets that kind of time on Timcast other than that dude. Because when they would try to interrupt him, he would just keep talking. He just wouldn't allow them to. And so they didn't just like sit back and be like, oh, well, like Milo hasn't spoken for a long time. Let's just give him his time to like, air his grievances or talk about whatever he wants to talk about. No, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. They would have loved to have interrupted and to have been more engaged in the conversation. But he's just a personality that can just take over a room. That's probably why Kanye West is so attracted to him. Because he's good at that. It's what he's good at. Prophet says, nice sword, faggot. Hagbert says he can control a room and a gaggle of dicks. A gaggle, a swarm, a flock of frickin' cocks.
So here on this show, I don't want to tell you, man. Ye doesn't have to do anything. He owes me no favors. He wanted to come on the show, but he didn't want to have a conversation.
Yeah.
I didn't disrespect him. We were nice to him. We hung out with him before the show. We tried to accommodate him to the best of our abilities, but he didn't want to entertain a conversation. I can't make him. He doesn't owe me that. He can leave. That's his.
You know what? This is what happens when you don't have fresh, locally sourced Cambodian breast milk in your green room. You got to have that stuff in your green room. Yeah, I know it's Puffy Combs, but we're extending the joke out.
Thing, appreciate him trying as best as he did. That's about it.
That's true. I mean, what else can you do, right? I mean,
look, let me tell you guys some stories, because I guess this is the show now. Welcome to the Monday night show. It was all hype and then all nothing. I don't.
He's furious. He's furious, dude. He's a businessman. He hyped us up on social media. Meeting of the minds. Ye, Fuentes, Milo joined to discuss Trump dinner and Ye 24. He's fucking furious. He's not furious at the dude left. He's furious that he fucked up his show, which I can understand. I get it.
I like identitarianism. I've never been a fan of people who've blamed everyone else for their problems. I remember during Occupy Wall Street, you had people saying it was the 1%. That was the cause of their problems. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You got 1%ers here giving you money. You've got rich people down here supporting Occupy Wall Street, providing funding. You've got
yeah, maybe because it's about the social engineering, civil unrest. They could be, they could have different motivations for giving people money.
George Soros money going into these nonprofits that are funding you to complain about rich people.
Yes.
The problem is varying agendas. The problem is varying ideologies. The problem is everyone fighting for power for what they want. In Ye's circumstance, they're coming after him. They're trying to take away his stuff. They're threatening him with institutionalization, and I understand all of that. It's unfortunate that he's internalized this problem to it is a specific ethnic.
You know, in Ye's defense, though, like how else is he supposed to feel? Like, I mean, they just went so over the top with the deplatforming of him and fucking up his business deals, freezing bank accounts, etc. Like, what do you think? What conclusion do you think somebody like that is going to come to? Right, wrong, or indifferent? What do you think they're going to come to? Do you think it's going to confirm their priors a little bit? Does it actually create the conspiracy that he's paranoid about? I don't know. Wild stuff.
Religious background that's doing it, and I'm like, bro, it's specific people doing it to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. We can read super chats.
Well, I think super chats would be interesting to spur on this conversation. But
we made it 27 minutes, and YouTube didn't take it down. Ye just got up and left.
Yeah, people don't understand. We took a big risk tonight. Like, it was my channel, it was your channel, especially on the line, because again, we're hosting conversations that are tough, that are not easy to have, that we need to be ready for, that we need to, of course, counter ideas just to let the best idea win. So,
do you think Tim didn't contact people at YouTube and ask them about what was and wasn't okay? I guarantee you he did. I know for a fact that he did that when he had Alex Jones on. He contacted YouTube and said, "I'm having Alex Jones on. Is that okay?" So he probably did something similar. I would imagine he did something similar. He has contacts, not like, not decision-making power, but he has contacts.
So, with taking this risk, is just unfortunate that it played off the way it did. Again, he doesn't owe us anything, but this just should have done. I just wish it would have went a totally different way. But you can't control individuals, and if someone can't handle getting their assertions questioned,
well, but why did he get so angry about it? That's my question.
I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's not like we were confrontational. It's not like we were rude. I definitely disagreed with some of the statements, and I was waiting to jump in just to have that conversation.
Well, here's my thing. I don't know who he's talking about. I don't know exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And so when he says a thing happened to me, and I'm like, but who did it? What am I supposed to be like? You've got to. I'm sorry, man. Like, the idea that you've got a group of people of this, like, it just doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, man. It just doesn't.
Well, it just doesn't make sense. Trembling says, has that dude did a tell-all video on Tim Pool yet? Yeah, he did, Adam Krigler. He did it this past Friday, and then the next day, to make things even more spicy, Tim Pool did basically a response video. The first time Tim Pool's ever engaged in online drama. He did a response video. I thought about covering it on a nightcap, but I just was like, I didn't know if people would really care, honestly. Maybe I'll check it out on Wednesday or Friday. Brissinger says, I'm out, dudes. It's nice to finally get on another live. Yeah, hey, good to see you, buddy. Have a good night, man.
There's certainly powerful individuals who are friends with each other. Like I said, Bezos, billionaire. Bill Gates, billionaire. Bill Gates going on TED Talks talking about depopulation. You've got, here's an example.
Yeah, there's lots of people that have similar plans, similar values, etc. When you're talking about elite people, I think that's really more or less what you should probably focus your attention to, and not get lost in the maelstrom of this being a particular race issue. I just don't find it very productive or fruitful. Honestly, I just don't. Society has spoken. It has decided these things. You gotta be smarter. You gotta move past it. You have to call out individual actors and then make a case against them individually before you can do anything else.
Example, Shane Smith, CEO of Vice, Irish-Canadian guy, multi-billionaire, created a woke media empire. So when we're talking about censorship and silencing, and he says it's like Jewish or whatever, and I'm like, but what does that mean? Like, there's woke entities that are completely white European dudes. Mm-hmm. Antifa is mostly white European. They're not Jewish guys going around smashing up windows.
Well, some of them are probably Jewish in their ranks, but it's not about Antifa being that. It's about who influences Antifa, who gives them money, who gives them funding, etc. You're probably going to find some wealthy entrepreneurs, George Soros being one of them. That's always the thing, and I'm so glad that most people have pushed back against this idea, this notion of calling out George Soros as somehow anti-Semitic. No, it's not. Like, you just see where somebody puts their money and the causes that they support, how they're into social engineering, etc., and you should be able to call that out. And it's demonstrable. You can just prove it. The money trail is there. Anything else is just fucking gaslighting. Trembling says, I would care. I'm a Red Bar fan. I love the bitchy dramas of niche celebrities. Well, I'm a Red Bar fan as well, so I join you in that. Trembling says, watched all the Porcelain docs. So have I. Porcelain's really good, actually. Some of his documentaries are some of the best, covering all of like internet drama bullshit. He does really good work.
This is the issue of people blaming a group of people when the issue is specific to something unrelated to their background. I don't know what else, man. How are you guys doing?
I don't know. I might want to go downstairs and see if we could get him back. I think it's worth a try.
I'm
gonna try to talk to him, see if we.
I'll
can
read
get him
super
back.
chats.
Yeah,
I'll read super chats. And
Tim Pool doesn't even want him back. Tim Pool's like, this has been such an egregious offense. You don't deserve to come back, buddy.
well, that was fun. We're just gonna sit here.
I guess so.
We'll read some super chats because otherwise, that's it. You know,
You guys
I
didn't even
understand.
really get into the dinner.
Because he jumps
The details of the
immediately
dinner.
into he wants to talk about Jews, and I'm like,
Yeah, because you brought up a news article that called them an anti-Semite. That's why. It's not rocket science, dude. It's not rocket science. You could have eased that. You could have eased into it. You could have talked about literally anything else, but you were such a slave to your fucking format. To like, we got to bring up a news article to give us context for what we're talking about. Just ask him about his presidential campaign. Ask him how he got involved with Milo and what does that mean for the future. Ask him about Nick Fuentes and why he likes Nick Fuentes, etc. Holy shit, come on now. Trembling says, Porcelain has great little jabs he takes at people in his docs, especially the Jim Norton and the Sam Roberts ones. The Jim Norton one is one of my favorite YouTube documentaries ever. What is it, The Turning of the Worm? It's so fucking good. I've watched it like 5 or 6 times. I've fallen asleep to that quite a few times. It's so good.
are you kidding, dude? And I said, you want to go right into that? Fine, whatever. So be it.
Yeah.
But if dude can't handle a conversation about it, it's insane to me. Look,
I'm not
it's
sure what
it's
he
reality.
was referring to that happened this morning.
He said he found out they want to put him in jail.
But what exactly does that mean?
Well, it's
For tax evasion. Tax evasion, lady. They're saying he is evading paying taxes and he owes $50 million to the IRS. And Adidas is going to charge him $250 million for a PR campaign that he decided he wanted the money for to do himself. Seems like maybe he didn't have the best advice.
It sounds like what he was saying was he found out this morning that they're saying he owes taxes,
Okay.
and that if he doesn't pay them, they're going to lock him up or something.
Okay.
And then the thing that he walked out on was you asked him to clarify who you meant by they specifically. That's pretty.
Oh, right, because I said
You were saying they as in the corporate media.
the
Like, I
establishment,
don't use the
powerful
word
interests.
they the same way that you mean it, and then
And then he got up and he stormed out.
like, that's basically
That's
it.
crazy.
That's a shame. Like, I wish that you guys had gotten to have the conversation.
No, that is pretty crazy. He just used kind of this generalized term, and he's like, but why can't we say who they are? And Tim was like, well, what do you mean? I gotta go. I got a jet, boys.
She wanted to have.
Yeah,
They don't wanna have it.
I
They
feel
don't wanna
bad
have
for
it.
the audience, honestly, because I feel like that could have been a really interesting conversation, and now we're in a position where I am yay, and that's
Who was
not
sitting
such a-
here? I don't remember who was sitting in the seat.
Nick Fuentes was sitting
I'm
there.
Nick Fuentes,
Yeah.
guys.
Don't we look great? No, I mean,
What is
Tim's like has no sense of humor. He's just so shook by this whole thing. Somebody like walk out 26 minutes, 26 fucking minutes. I got 2 hours to fill.
what do you think's going to happen? Is like here,
He
you know
did
what?
say that he would be back.
Tonight.
no, he's not back tonight. Maybe he'll come back on the
Maybe
show.
in the future at some indefinite
Yeah, I
point.
doubt it.
Like, would you have him back? I mean, how cucked would you have to be at this point to have Kanye back? Honestly. I mean, he's a businessman. That's what he cares about, building his brand. So maybe he would. But at the same time, be like, no, dude, you fucking left me high and dry. This is how I make a living, dude.
Dude, I mean, look, man, people.
How did pre-show go? Like, what was the vibe in here
fine.
beforehand?
It was
it
fun.
chill?
It was good.
And we should have just filmed the pre-show because they didn't even talk about this shit. No, I'm swearing. We were talking
Yeah.
about
At
like
this point, you know.
it was religious philosophy, plans for the future, and I was like, this is really interesting stuff. I know they have these views, I obviously, and people are texting me about it, and I'm like, okay, here's what we do. They had look, all they did was remove themselves from the conversation. They had an opportunity to explain what was going on and why. And all that happened is it seemed like Ye came in here and just went for every possible way to make himself look worse.
So what?
Now, see, I was checking Twitter because I was looking for a clip. I was looking for the clip of him of Kanye talking about the dinner with Donald Trump and how he was like impressed with Nick Fuentes and how he asked him to be his vice president, etc. I was looking for it, but what happened when I looked up his name? So I got to kind of see what Twitter was thinking. What does Twitter have to say about this event? And everybody basically is saying that Kanye owned himself, showed that he is incapable of carrying on a conversation or defending himself, and that will just run away. That will just run away from a conversation, etc. That's how this is going to be taken. That's how this is going to be taken. They're going to just be like, well, now this gets to be used as another cudgel against Kanye West. Now, whatever. Like Kanye West is like, I don't understand people's fascination or that they feel like Kanye's West's life or his experiences validate their perspective. I really don't. I don't really get that. He lives on a different plane of existence than the average person. But that seems to be the fallout from it. Everybody's saddling up to say that Tim killed Kanye, basically. Jeremy says, Tim Cass, waster of guest time.
Was like your burning question for this? Like you knew they would probably bring this stuff up. You knew identity politics are definitely on the table.
But that's why I was like, I want to know what happened. Like even before they got here, I was like, guys, we want to know about the dinner. Like I'm hearing a lot of rumors.
Somebody on Twitter, Donovan Crip Daddy at Young Crip Comedy says Tim Pool just played a sample of his music in front of Kanye West, and he immediately walked out screaming, "That fake ass pop punk shit is gayer and more tryhard than Nick and Milo combined." Then burned to Torah.
I'm hearing that, what was it like? Ye asked Trump to be his VP or something. Why was Fuentes at the dinner with Trump? What did Trump say? Is this true? Trump didn't know he was. Well, he said Trump didn't know who Fuentes was. That's what I want to understand. What is Trump doing? Why is everybody denouncing Trump right now? Is this a legitimate criticism of Trump? Apparently now it is. Apparently, absolutely.
The report that Trump began deriding Kim Kardashian and during that dinner seemed very strange. I have no idea why he would do that.
I feel like there's no.
Because the worm had turned, young girl. The worm had turned. He saw the writing on the wall, Kanye being erratic. Just starts throwing shit at the wall. What will get Kanye on my side? Talk shit about his ex-wife. All right, let's skip ahead. Holy shit, these people.
How is it that we basically had an hour conversation in this room, the pre-show, as we're getting camera and lighting corrected, and it had nothing to do with any of that stuff?
Right.
Talking about religion, talking about philosophy, talking about, what it means for a potential campaign if they have one. And I'm like, this is cool stuff. This is going to be a good conversation. And then the first thing in 5 minutes, he's like, I want to talk about Jews. It's
I mean, do you think it's like
The first thing out the bat, I'm like, come on, really?
Was it on purpose?
Do you think it's that some people come into interviews knowing like they're gonna ask me about this?
No, it's because in the title of the article you brought up, it said anti-Semite. That's why. That's what activated this. Take some fucking ownership. You could say like, well, I didn't intend that to happen. That's not what I meant. I was just bringing up an article so we could get ourselves into the Trump dinner conversation. Well, you picked a bad fucking article then.
I'm sure Kanye, or yay, I'm so bad at this. But I'm sure a lot of people go into interviews, especially when you're that big a figure with a target on your back, thinking like some journalist is going to sit here and get me comfortable and then hit me with one of these questions that makes me look bad. I think in some ways it must be at the forefront of your mind.
Well, she's actually has it exactly right. Because he brought up the other people. He brought up he brought up Alex Friedman, which I feel like he thinks is like a massive betrayal. Because Alex, because you're kind of brought on for a struggle session. You're brought on to kind of prostrate yourself amongst, for the masses and just be lashed and just take your licks. How do you deal with it? That's kind of what happened. So, yeah, he's going to be on the defensive 100%. But, I don't think that anything rose to the level of walking out of the studio. Nothing that happened actually rose to that level. It was a little ridiculous.
Mind going into interview like this is the topic that everyone actually wants me to talk about.
I don't even think you were going to ask about that.
I didn't think you were either.
About what stuff?
About his views on Jewish power.
I told
you were going to
them
mainly
before,
ask about the candidacy.
News.
I want to talk about
topical,
like our show.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a bunch of people say to me, Tim, you need to denounce them right off the bat. And I was like, oh, that's so tired. Bro, anybody who watches my show and who's honest knows that I don't care for identitarianism, racism, anti-Semitism. But Kanye West is one of the most influential guys on the planet. He's got people who genuinely love and respect him. And he's got a bunch of ideas pertaining to what it means to run for president, what he wants to do, and why he thinks he's the best. So I'm going to talk to him about that. And then I said, even before the show, I was like, who are we kidding, guys? I know this is going to come up, but, we'll talk about it. And they're like, we get it.
Well, I think it's like
they never even signed the portraits.
I think it's kind of like when they're skipping protocol. It reminds me of the times that we've had Marjorie Taylor Greene on, right? Some people will hear that you're having her on and say, you can't do that. She's controversial. She does bad things. I don't like her. And ultimately, especially if you have some kind of tension against someone, hearing them out and getting their...
Interesting they bring up Marjorie Taylor Greene. You know who also works for Marjorie Taylor Greene? Or has, at least in the past? It's Milo Yiannopoulos.
Perspective is the best way to form your opinion accurately. And often, especially I've known with Marjorie Taylor Greene, we've had people be like, I just sort of wrote you off because of all the headlines about you. But getting to hear your side and getting to your perspective has really altered my view. Maybe it doesn't make you a fan. Maybe it does make you a fan.
Hold on. All the media that are deplatformed.
Prof says, imagine if Fuentes just sat there awkwardly for the rest of the show. It would be amazing. He should have. That would have been the ultimate meme. He could have taken it over. No. But he's chasing those paychecks. He's chasing that money. He wants that money. He wants that ye cash.
Deplatform. It's was that not a good display of the depth of their ideology? None. Unable to withstand 5 minutes of questions. I wasn't mean. I did not insult him. We talked beforehand, and I was like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" I said I don't use the word "they" the way you mean. I'm talking about and he just gets up and walks out.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to hear what I have to say about my ideas, but I have to sit here and listen to him. You know what I think, man? There's a reason why Ye is who he is. They say that celebrities, all of them, tend to have some degree of narcissism. They feel
no. I think anybody in the public sphere, anybody that does anything like this, has a little bit of narcissism. I think so. Sorry to say it, but it's true.
That they should be seen by everybody, and thus they end up putting themselves out more, which increases the likelihood of fame and notoriety. Yours truly included. I don't think I'm exempt for any of this stuff. I'm sitting here putting a camera on my face, talking to it all the time, and I talk a whole lot. But I think Ye is a guy who has risen to this position because he's assertive and because he's willing to do something like that.
Right.
Imagine you're talking to a guy who's got $1 billion shoe empire, and you know that if you say the wrong thing, he's out and you've lost everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he owns the conversation. He does. So that works for him in business.
Yeah.
Does not work for him in politics.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a single vote if you're just going to storm out and not do anything for anybody.
Right. There's a lot of things to kind of break down and
yeah, I'm sure Kanye West is the mastermind behind his empire. It's not like all of his handlers. It's not the people telling him what to do. He himself admitted, oh, you're like a child. You don't understand finances. You don't understand how these things work. You're just given from your mother to the next person, to the next person, to the next person, making all these decisions for you, etc. He understands celebrity. He understands his influence on culture. And when you're a popular figure, when you're on the inside, you got a lot of sway. You can influence a lot of people. Kanye West's entire career has been making things that are stupid cool. Making them popular. Pop collar, pink, what do you call them, shirts? Polo shirts. That was the thing that Kanye spurred on. Then everybody did it. He's done that. He's tried to do that at least with his fashion stuff, his higher fashion shit, with the ripped jeans and the weird rubber clog boots and shit. Like, he's always been trying to do that stuff. I don't know if that's always successful. I guess people look at people like that stuff. I don't know, but it's only as effective as he is popular. If his popularity wanes, then people don't think it's cool anymore. And now he's a kind of a seasoned celebrity, a seasoned star, who is a musical savant for sure. And he's feeling the effects of like your sunset when you're not the biggest thing in the world anymore. I don't think he knows how to handle it, honestly. I think that's what spurs on a lot of like the spiraling. And it also, I gotta say, seems like he's a little manic.
Talk about here. I have my own theories and assertions, and if you guys don't go along with it, I'm like, yeah, that's totally cool. That's totally fine. It's not the end of the day. But I think it's also fair to say that he's going through a tremendous amount of pressure, a lot of stress. And I think when he was, institutionalized and drugged in 2016, I think there might be still, I don't know here. I'm speculating. Maybe some.
Now, this is probably true. They tried to institutionalize this man. They tried to drug him up. How the fuck would you feel?
Larger effects here. Maybe he still hasn't recovered from that, SSRIs and what was it, lithium that he was talking about? Those drugs have a severe effect on you and could affect your decision making.
Well, I don't want to discredit him with that, like the mental health stuff, because a lot of people have said that
I think it's worth discussing.
You can't listen to anything Ye says because he's mentally ill or he's off his meds. All of that stuff is just ad hominem. I think,
Yeah, I'm not saying
I don't know if it's ad hominem. Some of it might be true. Not in its totality, but it might be a factor. Might be something to consider.
5-year-old man. He's extremely influential, powerful. He can make his own decisions, and I think that he made the wrong one tonight by walking out.
Absolutely. I'm just saying that this deserves
Your
also.
life is really weird, Tim. Today,
You guys are here too. Don't look at me.
It's weird for all of us.
we kind of.
I really wish that they had signed the portraits. It really hurts me, my perfectionist brain.
Well, what can you do? But it's not that they were off the meds; it's that they were forcefully put on the meds. And when you look at a lot of people that are forcefully drugged, you do see a lot of long-term negative consequences and actions. Again, I'm not trying to excuse anything, but I think it's worth a discussion, especially when it comes to this Harley Pasternak individual, the larger effects of this, the threats that were being made against them, the pressure he talked about. Going through a particular difficult, before the show began, a difficult situation with the divorce and custody with children. So again, tremendous amount of pressure and stress. No excuses for anything. Hey, let's debate these conversations. Let's debate these ideas. Clearly, that didn't happen. Clearly, he wasn't ready.
Some people are saying the whole thing was planned.
I feel like
him walking out,
they had a car
or
ready?
that you wanted him to walk out.
Did they have a car ready?
No.
They were in the truck.
They were waiting for.
No, they didn't
someone
have a
getting
car
ready.
ready. I mean, I honestly, as much as I want this
Now, say Kanye maybe didn't have it planned. Do you think that Milo Yiannopoulos is crying because this happened? Do you think he's so bothered by it? Or is he just juicing Ye up? Do you think he's juicing him up? Juicing him up? See? I told you, Ye. You can't trust anybody. Not even Tim Pool. The red media is out to get you, my friend. Prabhu says, I never would have thought that when Kanye released Chocolate Rain in 2008, things would have ended up like this. Just wanted to bring us together.
conversation. I want it for the company and I want it for the audience. Like, I have a piece of, like, I have some respect for someone who's like, look, I'm done. Like, I think so often we are in a culture that demands people continue to talk all the time. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. I am just sad that we didn't get to hear what happened at Mar-a-Lago. I am sad that we didn't get to hear more of these perspectives, because this is such an interesting trio of people, and it was worth hearing. It is worth knowing, because all we can do now is speculate.
Imagine sitting down with Trump too, right? Trump, I don't. He's walked out on some, but I don't think he would walk out like that.
Yeah, I want to hear his version of events
Let's
of
bring
what
him on
happened
and find
here.
out.
Yeah,
because
Trump, you got to come on now, because
there's also a lot of other reports saying that he was screaming at that particular dinner with Nick there. That there was a big argument. That there was yelling.
That was the point of bringing these guys on.
Yeah.
Not to like have him opine on his thoughts about an entire body of people that everyone's already heard before. That's the crazy thing. He like likened this to a Lex Fridman interview.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, we're not here to talk to you about that. We're here to talk to you about your plans, man.
Yeah.
I told him this before the
Well, then you should have started with that, Tim. You can't start with an incendiary fucking article and then expect it to go the way that you want. Like, I don't understand. Like, maybe he's just so like format brained that he's just like, oh, we're just gonna do a regular show. This is how we do it. We're gonna walk it. This is how we're gonna walk into these things. It's like, dude, like somebody's gonna have a reaction to that. If you're making, it's because it's implied in the title of the article is an accusation. It's an implied accusation. So when you read it in front of him and ask him to respond to it, like, what do you expect him to do? Honestly. Trembling says, quote unquote, "Yee, you can trust bitches. You can't trust bitches. I'll show you what you can trust." Puts face in his lap.
the show, and I say this, I don't think Ye's crazy. Some people are like, maybe he's bipolar. It's like, dude, we were talking to him before the show. He was of complete sound mind.
Totally
Would you do
He's just
something,
emotional.
Like, would you do something different? Like, you led off tonight with a story about Mar-a-Lago. Would you have led?
Oh no, he didn't lead off with the story about Marla. Come on. Like, don't give him a way out. Come on now. Jeremiah says, I'm headed out for the night, Shaun. Get good rest, boys. You too, my friend. I'll see you. I'll talk to you soon.
Off with something else? I mean, I'm just curious, because then you're introducing our format.
This is why I think, someone super chatted saying they think that this thing was staged, a publicity stunt, because walking out generates more press, because it gives the press something to write about. If they didn't storm off, the press would have been like, here are a few things they said. But by storming...
Yeah, by storming off, now you are getting... Tim Pool gets to be the White Knight. Tim Pool gets to be framed as the guy that got under Yee's skin to the degree that he walked off based on some very light pushback. That's all that's going to come out of this.
Off, now there's a story about Ye just throwing up and leaving, and that generates press. So it's like...
But it's not positive press if you're looking for political credibility. I think that part of the reason he walked out and he's this emotionally stressed out right now is because he has the soul of an artist and not of a politician. And that's usually a good thing, actually.
Well, if there's one thing we know from Milo,
oh, sweet summer child.
He understands that any press is good press. And he kind of utilizes that to his personal benefit. I don't know. Maybe he thought if there was a debate, maybe things wouldn't have not looked as good here. And I don't know.
I don't think this is staged. I mean, I think we knew going in.
No, I don't think. Actually, Milo definitely did not spur on the leaving, because he was still sitting there. He said, "I should probably go check on him," and then I think Nick got up when Milo got up. So they did not expect him at that moment to walk out. But do I think he's sad about it? No. Kato says, I hate to leave too. Good show. Hey, good seeing you, Kato.
That we were going to have 5 enormous personalities in this room. Serge, I'm sorry about that one, buddy, but you're much more low key. And that anyone was bound to become more tense. It was a question of how this dynamic would play out. And I'm, again, sorry that it played out this way, because it leaves so many questions on the table. I just don't want to speculate about mental health or the effect of pills, or I don't believe this was staged, but like whatever happened, I just think that it would have been an interesting conversation.
Do you think you want to ask him to come back?
No.
At some point in the future?
No.
Not tonight, but...
I'm not going to ask him to come back, dude. He doesn't owe me anything. He doesn't have to sit on my show. He can leave whenever he wants. So here let's be candid. before the show, I get a bunch of people saying like, "Are you crazy? The conservatives don't host the."
Again, so he's going to bring in this self-congratulatory thing again. And credit to him. He did it. He did it. He put them on. He gave them a platform. And they whiffed it. They fucking blew it.
These people, they're trolls. They're anti-Semitic. How could you platform them? There's Republicans saying like, we don't believe in platforming these people. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like when Antifa showed up to Ann Coulter's thing, I get it. That was more violent. But dude, don't tell me about deplatforming people that are in the news on a big story, because that means nothing to me. Why are they there? Why are they meeting with Trump? I want to know. And if you don't want to know, that's on you. But I don't take this whole deplatforming thing. That being said,
some people like to lick the dragon, some people don't.
Right now, you've got people saying, Tim, you screwed up. It's your fault. Then I've got people saying, wow, you're a crybaby. I've got people saying you handled it masterfully. I got people saying like you did a miserable job. Why didn't you played it wrong? I don't care, guys. There's nothing I can do. I am who I am. Before the show, people were like, have you been preparing? Have you doing research? And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, all I know is I told them what the show is. I told them what the plan is. I said, if you want to talk about that stuff, we should probably save it closer to the end because we want to talk about the news. That's what we do on this show. Ye didn't want to do it. He doesn't have to do it. He doesn't owe me anything. He's a rich guy. He can do whatever he wants. He got up and he left.
Yeah, but if you wanted the sauce, if you wanted that exclusive, if you wanted the information, you got to be a better interviewer. And you have to be willing to upend what you normally do. And you could have gotten him there. You could have led him in that direction. All right, let's skip ahead. Let's skip ahead a little bit here. Holy shit. Let's go back a little bit.
Here with
Leonard, bringing the controversy everywhere he goes.
Listen here, want to be Hannah Montana. I feel responsible.
This is part of the Tim Pool compound harem. Luke is fucking all of these girls. He's fucking all of them.
So I apologize. It's all my fault.
I don't get it.
I'm sorry to the audience members for bringing
No,
them.
I think
Sorry for party rocking.
my Twitter DMs are lighting up right now from a bunch of high-profile people that are commenting like they just destroyed themselves. Like
It doesn't look good.
they did not defend their ideas. They couldn't handle like.
This is why deplatforming ultimately doesn't work, because if you disagree with somebody and you really think they're wrong, you really think they're going to get pie in their face, you can let them do it. You can let them do it. I don't know what the threat, the intellectual threat Kanye West poses to anyone, honestly. He just does not coherently string his ideas together, and he never has. He probably never will, because he's an artist, like they said. It's all internal. It's all about feeling. It's all about emotion. It's all about a vibe. That's what he's trying to create. That's what he's trying to represent in his work. So asking him just straightforward questions is you're probably not going to get much of an answer. I think even when Kanye was on Joe Rogan, it was kind of a very similar thing where he will go off on wild tangents. And he starts talking about his music, and starts talking about how he hears a symphony in his head relative to music, relative to life.
Here's the thing. I'm getting criticized because they're like, Tim, why were you letting them say those things? I'm like, I barely pushed back.
But
I got
also feel
10 words
that
out.
Now Tim's starting to see it. He's like, this is the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Now I'm in. Now I'm in. I'm the Kanye killer. Skip ahead.
A did it. Mm-hmm. And then when he encounters problems with it, he decided the problem was Jewish people. I'm like,
oh my God. So the conversation has not evolved. I just skipped 8 minutes ahead. They're still just going over the same thing over and over and over again.
I think it's particular individuals who have it out for you.
Although, what else do you do, though? In fairness, what else do you do? What else do you do? You're on a live show. You have something planned. This is enticing. This is exciting to people. You've had a big dramatic moment. I guess you probably would. You'd probably milk it. You'd milk it.
Bro, bro, the Jewish people who work at this company have literally nothing to do with Ye's troubles.
Is that what he said? That was how he ultimately viewed his problems, or?
Yes, because I was like, what did they mention? I said, what about Bezos? What about, Shane Smith? What about Elon? And they're like, oh, they all work for Jewish people. And I'm like, what? Bill Gates?
I guess that's before the show. No, actually, the argument they were making, because Kanye tried to articulate this, is that there's always somebody in proximity to those people that is involved in the decision making. That's what he was saying. Jared Kushner, Rahm Emanuel. That's what he was saying. And I imagine he would say the same thing of Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates. And there probably is. There probably is. I mean, fuck. Who can say?
Come on, man. I'm sorry, dude. I can't buy that. Look, Vice is a great example. I said this. If you really believe that, I think this might have been before the show. I was like, how do you explain my show? And he said, because God is on our side. I'm like, what, dude? Like, you can't say that if someone is against me, it's a specific group of people. And if we're winning, it's because God is here with us. Either you as an individual, regardless of race, gender, orientation, identity, can succeed, or you think everyone is underneath the boot of some group of people.
Well, Tim technically is under the boot of a group of people. They're called whoever handles stuff at Google. Tim is very conciliatory towards Google. He does not want to get pulled off of YouTube. This is his cash cow. I understand. I get it. But he is subservient to the ideas and the whims of other people. He is. Whoever those people are, I have no idea. But that's what Kanye is trying to articulate. There will always be somebody in proximity to the decision maker. That's what he's saying.
So what role do you think identitarian thinking has on the American public? Because I do think the points about like we isolate certain racial votes, we use them as blocks to win.
Identity politics and identitarianism aren't necessarily the same. They overlap. Identitarianism is government based on identity. Mm-hmm. So, so I should be careful about how I say that, and I should probably try to clarify better. If you think that you are inhibited in any way, or I should say, if you believe it is impossible because of your identity, then it is a disservice. Like, you are being lied to. There are people I know from the Philippines who are wealthier. Actually, I think it's like Filipino immigrants make like $90K to $120K on average in the United States. Mm-hmm. It's not the race of the individual. It is their perseverance, their willingness to work really, really hard. I think the problem with identitarianism or identity grievance politics is that you start to believe you can't succeed because of immutable characteristics, seek to blame another group of people, and then you get chaos, violence. And that's what we see with, from Occupy to the anti.
I mean, with a lot of people, that's true. Because a lot of people just don't have what it takes to make it in whatever they desire. Whatever they're choosing or their chosen endeavor is. Usually when people talk about that stuff, it has to do with like celebrity or influence, etc. A lot of people don't have the grind. You could say what you want about Tim Pool. I'm not a huge fan myself. But Tim Pool works very hard. Probably the hardest working person in this sector, whatever you want to call it. He works very hard. He has made something of himself. He's made something of his company. He's built something. A lot of people are very envious of that. And it is very easy to just like be like, well, it's not my fault. It's because of this or that or the other thing. It's kind of like that Japanese pedophile guy being like, well, it was the lolicon. That's really what did it. That's really what held me back. There's these forces in life that I have no control over that determine everything for me. Oftentimes, it's not actually that accurate. It can be, broadly speaking, I think, especially when we start talking about cultural stuff and representation and whatever. Who is allowed to say what about who? For sure. I think Kanye West is experiencing a little bit of that himself right now. But before that, Kanye built something. He built something out of his own ability, his own talent. Okay, let's see here. Let's skip ahead a little bit.
If they get up and storm out, the story was put up on the internet within a minute of it happening. Ye storms out of interview.
And they never got their ideas challenged or questioned.
Exactly.
They had two people that for especially one for years that were specifically debating this issue, that were arguing this issue, that again were studying this issue. We came to of course have that conversation. They didn't want to have it.
Does walking out just mean all publicity is good publicity?
Yes. The moment we got into the point of any kind of adversarial questioning, they were done and they walked out. They didn't have to have their ideas challenged, but they got the PR.
I feel like the human race right now is coming together, like with the internet, and we're just at this weird stage of our evolution where you get these.
Oh, of course, Ian's back. He's in. He's locked in. Ian about to give us the spooky truth.
Really different people. We're forced to come together. We have no choice. If we're going to survive and create, American republicanism and freedom and stuff, we have to work with people that we do not understand or like half the sometimes. And it's just a weird, it's like mixing oil and water. You see these weird environments and things where it's too much for somebody one day, and then the next day you're still friends. I digress, but I think it's to be expected, these kind of things, and it's not like a bad thing.
Well, you're also like an empath, kind of. Ian.
Very
I don't
much.
know. Yeah.
Maybe it would have gone differently and better if you had been in the room, actually.
I think
there's always more. It's worth seeing in all perspectives.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, no, it would have been. If I had been in the room, we could have started talking about vibranium or something. It'd be really great.
Do it again. We'll do it again.
You're someone who, when I talk to you, I feel like you are 1000% attentive to what I'm saying. And maybe the format that Ye was in here without you involved in the conversation just didn't feel that way. He didn't feel heard.
We did have a good conversation before the show about Parler, and I'm like, I want to.
What did he think about Parler?
Well, I want to federate it with Minds, Rumble, and Twitter so that they can all interoperate. And he was like, "What's that exactly?" And we talked about that.
Yeah.
He was super down with that. We didn't get to talk about graphene yet, but we will.
We will. You have plans? You're going to call him later? I mean, I think one of the things is Milo has been on the show before, so hopefully he would have familiarized Kanye with the format, and maybe that was.
Or maybe they could have expected that because it's Kanye West. They would have changed things. They would have done something different. Maybe he thought that.
Just not lost in translation. Would you have Nick back on his own?
Ian, handle it for 5 minutes.
You got it, brother.
Okay. Would you have Nick back on his own? Can we have these guests separately, or was the power of the interview that all three were here?
At this point, every day, every way, I'd have all three of those guys back on their own. They each deserve to speak.
Tim Pool gets to leave. He's like, Ian, answer for me.
And hopefully they'll get a chance to. I personally would have. I'm a very open-minded, sometimes maybe a little too radical, a little too eccentric. I'll have people on that why are you interviewing the devil, Ian? Well, I mean, let's find out why people think he's so evil. Let's get down to it.
Yeah. Did it take you a while to adjust to this format? Because it is with looking at the news and responding to it, you're not necessarily here to discuss your expertise. Did that take you a minute to fall into line with?
Yeah, at first it felt like a jam session. I was treating it like a jam session. Me and Tim would come in. I'd make as much noise as he was. We were just splattering it, and he would get frustrated and kept getting, and it was like, this is, at one point he kind of said, listen, I'm the orchestra. I'm the what do they call it? The guy that's leading the orchestra.
Conductor.
Tim's like, I'm the conductor. I'm like, that's right. I'm first trumpet. It's not a jam session. We're not equals here. Tim is conducting this environment.
He didn't understand that. That's why Tim used to be so mean to him. Oh, no.
Environment. At least that's how I treat the
yeah,
show.
I do too.
It's called Timcast.
Yeah.
You know.
It's not called All of Us Cast.
No,
not Communist Cast.
If you're not having your ideas challenged, what are you doing? I mean, come on. Right. And we talk over each other. Me and Tim disagree. We argue. We debate all the time. We had a big debate about Bill Gates, and we saw things differently. We had a whole debate about the jabs. We had a whole debate about so many different.
Yeah, all these very contentious things that people just lose their minds about. Yeah, you guys get to have these open and honest conversations about slight deviations on opinions.
Issues, and it's fine. It's okay. And I think, more and more you're seeing a lot of parallel.
Trembling says, change format for even a day? That would make Tim autistically rock in the corner. It really would. It would break his fucking brain.
From the left on the right. So, a lot of the wokeness, a lot of the blaming everything on generalizations, a lot of the kind of more emotional based aspects, a lot of the kind of ways that people handle themselves, asking for more government intervention. I think it's almost directly the same in a lot of instances, and I think that's a fair critique that needs to be criticized, especially with people calling for more government, especially people who are trying to blame everything on one particular group. I think more than ever, we need conversation, we need debate, we need paradigms shattered, we need them broken, we need to get rid of this thinking that some man or some government is going to come in and fix everything for you, because they're not. No one's coming to save you. You can only save yourself. Personal responsibility, decentralization, localized community efforts are the way that this is going to be solved here. Listen here, Ghost Girl. Stop interrupting me.
Do you sell a t-shirt with this on
Claire,
it?
stop being rude.
Let's skip ahead. I agree with him, though.
Rye says,
We didn't do nothing.
They're gonna reframe it to the point where they said Tim Pool kicks Kanye out of the studio.
We should put a bet right now on like which way this gets spun. Like
banishes Ye out of his studio for anti-Semitic rant.
Platforms terrible people.
I wanna announce, we were gonna have a members only show, which I guess we don't have, but we do still have a members only segment with them. So we had a crew go out and film them on their journey here. And then I guess what they were doing before they got here, I'm assuming they filmed them on the way out. So we'll have at least that up.
Prof says, now, Shaun, I read that pool in Tim Pool refers to the pool of cum. He's always gargling. Any truth to this? Who can say? Who can say? Very spooky stuff. Very spooky stuff. It may be true.
Up, I suppose. But let's read some of these super chats. And I'll try and read as many people as who like and don't like.
People are saying we should have talked about fish sticks.
People have pointed that out. All right. Bo Rye says, sorry, Ye's a frickin' baby. Tim put up hardly any resistance and just simply asked what he means. How can you be president if you can't even explain yourself? He has to talk to media politicians if he's president.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to say, dude, if he was going to be running for president, it would have been just someone yelling at him the whole time. You know what I mean? Imagine Ye sitting down with Xi Jinping and then him being like, hey, man, you're building these.
Trembling College wants to know, is that bitch a genuine albino? She very well could be. Now, I'm trying to. I actually have. I have authorization. I have a link to get into Tim Pool behind the scenes. Their stuff. I gotta see if I can bring it up. So maybe we'll see some more. Hold on.
These military bases in South China Sea, and then she just tells him he's a weak, pathetic man, and that he has no strength and he has nothing he can do to stop him. Is Ye gonna just like walk away?
Yeah, I don't know.
And then what?
I don't think that there was ever going to be a real campaign, but like I'm on camera saying that's my prediction, and if I'm wrong, then clip me. Go ahead.
Well,
but I don't think that there's going to be a real.
We talked to them
24.
privately, and it looks like they're taking it seriously.
Oh, yeah, you can learn
For
magic.
now?
I can teach Ye magic, dude. You think the words instead of say them when you look at someone in the eyes, and your body language does the speaking for you. Even if they don't understand your English or whatever, if they're Chinese, it still is the form of really legit communication.
The rebellious grizzly bear says, hey, Timcast crew, people who only want to have a one-sided conversation don't belong in politics. How can things really change without having a back and forth? This is a major problem in politics today.
I agree.
And I gotta feel like I watched the Lex Fridman thing. I don't watch like the whole thing. I don't watch a whole lot of other shows, but I watched it on while I was doing other things. I guess that's what people do with podcasts.
Yeah.
And particularly I watched the anti-Semitic stuff, the stuff that Ye was saying, and I felt that Lex was talking in circles. Like I was just not interested in it. And that's exactly what I told them before. I was like, guys, I get it. I know what you think. Can we talk about what's going on with you guys in the news so we can elaborate on this? And they didn't want to do it. It is what it is. All right. What do we got here? Nunn says, Ye's views notwithstanding, the show's format is flawed. No room for guests to speak when Tim's ego takes up the whole room. Adam Krigler was right. Hey, I said I'd read ones that were not fond of me either. It's funny because people are like, Tim wants to be the smartest guy in the room and he's got a big ego, but I'll literally read you insulting me and I'll have on a whole bunch of other people who are either in different areas more knowledgeable than I am. And I'll give a special shout out to Seamus Coughlin, who I argued with, adamant that I...
Okay, so I've just looked. There is no premium members area segment. At least not posted yet. Oh, Ceci over at Cinema Fusion says, First D Live. Sup, Shaun? Happy late Thanksgiving, brother. Hey, same to you, man. Same to you.
I was correct about what abortion was, specifically on the legal side, and Seamus told me I was wrong. Turned out to be right, and then I had to apologize to him later, saying I was completely wrong about that. You were right. I had the legal definition totally incorrect. So that's the reason why you have other people on.
We bully Tim off air. Don't worry. We keep.
Oh, yeah, they're throwing pies at me.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Seshi just followed. Thank you, Seshi. Appreciate it, brother. Hope you guys are doing good over there. All right, let's skip ahead. See if there's anything else
To go
interesting.
on pop culture crisis with you guys afterwards.
Yeah, that was the plan, and I had a lot of questions that I was wanting to ask. Yay, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen.
Well, it could happen. I mean, this is just like, it's an example of what has to happen for us to have this conversation in public.
Right.
Because we're going to need to bring people in that we don't necessarily think we agree with. Klaus Schwab could be in here next week. And that would be a good thing.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I would love to talk to Klaus. I would love to talk to the bug man. I'd love to talk to Bill Gates. I would love to talk to all these people.
Yeah.
And have those hard conversations and have those difficult conversations. Do you think you know what's best for everyone else? Let's actually debate it. Let's actually have that conversation.
What were you guys talking about when I was outside? Medical psychosis or
I
something?
think
Eating the bugs.
And if
Eating
you
bugs?
need to go to medical school to become a doctor, I would pose that maybe come.
Whatever they
Hold
want
on.
because they know they're right, but they can't stand up to scrutiny.
So yeah, he's just milking it. He's milking it.
So if you've got an idea and you can't handle someone saying something like, what do you mean by that? And then you just storm out. I don't think you mean anything. I think you don't know what you're talking about. That's it. I think what happened, here's what I think. I think Ye's life is being destroyed by a handful of powerful individuals. Many of them happen to be Jewish. I think he immediately sees that and says, this must be it. He makes a tweet about it. And I think, didn't he clarify he meant specific people?
Yes, he did.
And then he gets in touch with certain others who are like, no, you were right the first time, and then start agreeing with him and telling him yes.
Reinforcing that, yeah.
And then he says, okay, but then he can't actually back those ideas up because there's nothing behind them.
Right.
It is
Hey,
what
man,
it is.
don't conflate Rothschild's banking empire with Judaism. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't do it.
Damn Shell Rothschild.
Awkward pause. Let's skip ahead a little bit.
I just want to kind of let it flow.
And like you're saying an empath, like do you want 100 people just like
Yeah,
doggedly
it's
being like,
let
oh,
him-
where are you going?
When you want to be alone, you want to be alone.
Yeah.
That's what I found.
So there's a few things we were going to ask. Like Milo in the past has said he's Jewish. Now he says he's not. Milo called Ye. Sorry.
Well, he says he's half Jewish. I think his mother is Jewish.
Gay before. At least it's been reported. I've not explicitly seen the tweets. One thing that I did ask him about, like as we're getting ready for the show, there's a post going around that's purportedly from Milo talking about how the United States needs to put Christian interests above Jewish interests. And Milo, he didn't get a chance to talk about it. Like, this is what I wanted to talk about. Like, hey, there's news. Milo said he didn't say that. He reposted that. He was sharing what someone else had said, and it's like the full context isn't even there. He said he wouldn't have phrased it that way, but some of the points were correct. Would have been great if he was here and got to mention those questions.
Oh, come on now. Trembling says, I think they need just to get Ja Rule in the studio to get his take. I can't move on until they do. Ja, what do you got to say, Ja? Ja, help me get through this moment.
Questions. Then there was also the claims that Fuentes has disparaged black people, but was here working with and for Ye.
Yeah.
We didn't get a chance to get any of that stuff. So it's almost like they couldn't. Well, I can't. Here's what's sad. Milo and Nick getting up and walking out because Ye did. Come on, guys.
Yeah, seriously.
Bro, you're.
Well, what are they supposed to do? Like I said, he writes the checks. Whose relationship do you think they're worried about damaging? The relationship with Tim Cast or the relationship with Kanye West? Who's got all that fucking money?
Like, both of you are high-profile personalities. I'll tell you,
in their own right.
before the show, Ye said, I've raised the profile of these guys. I said, and Milo was mentioning doing these shows, I said, Ye's profile could not be any higher. I mean, before or after this, it's like, it's crazy. Everybody wants to know what he's doing. And that was kind of a joke. I suppose it was being silly. Like, everybody in this room has got some kind of career. But why would you just walk out? Because Ye did.
Tigerkin says Fuentes was hugging a pumpkin and calling it black people after the White Lives Matter stunt. Oh, I missed that one.
Right.
I mean, I think they think of themselves as a trio. They're all part of his campaign, and he's sort of spearheading them. Would you have Nick back? I know we've had Milo before. Would you have them back?
I think we should potentially have them both back. But the issue is, if they're going to walk out because Ye did, it's like, are they leading this conversation or are they just here for the ride?
Yeah, because if me and you went on a show and you got pissed off at the host and walked out, I'd probably stay. I think that'd be the right move.
Yeah.
Like, what are you supposed to do? Because if he's
Tigerkin says also he's a huge Kanye fan and has been wearing outfits designed to bite his style. Yeah, no, he is a giant Kanye fan. Giant. He has been, always has been too. In fact, didn't he have some internet troubles? People calling him out, and he would do live streams of himself in Kanye puffy jackets, just staring into the camera while Kanye songs played.
I don't think I would
Candidate.
ever do that though.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's the first thing.
Okay, somebody
Yeah.
clip that if Tim ever walks out of an interview.
Maybe I don't want to say that because I'm like, I don't know, man.
But he had a
Everybody's
reason to.
human.
Yeah.
I mean, I've probably walked out of something before. I don't know.
If an interviewer is intellectually dishonest and not willing to engage in a real conversation, I think that you're understandably going to disengage, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think Ye just didn't.
I mean, I don't think that was the case with you. You're not even an interviewer. You're just having a discussion.
I like that he compared me to Lex Fridman.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Lex show. That was.
Which is, you're like,
Oh, no, he didn't compare you to Lex Friedman. He said, is this like a Lex Friedman type scenario where I'm going to be asked, going to be put in a struggle session?
Is this a struggle session? Are we in China?
That's what he was worried about.
I like
Lex,
the intake.
Lex,
Can
come on the show.
can I get the brownie points from the YouTube algorithm the same way
Right,
that
yeah,
Lex
seriously.
gets?
I think the literology or the connection is that you and Lex are like logicians. You guys are both into logic, very very strong logic, and Kanye is more emotional.
Yeah,
and that so he sensed the logic in the room.
Should have brought a retard in. Should have brought me in, dude. Ian could have sealed this deal. He could have calmed everything down. Okay.
John Alexander says you can praise Jews as a group, but you can't criticize them as one. Group interests exist. Let me point something out. When Ye was talking about how you can say the black vote, but you can't say Jewish people are doing this thing, it's like, well, hold on there a minute. Jewish people also in New York City, for instance. Well, actually, I shouldn't say New York City because the wave of crime has changed things. But they do create demographics based on Jewish people. Like they do have a Jewish demographic based on voting and voting preferences. I lived in Bed-Stuy.
Yes, they do. Tiger Kinson, Tim Pool is a midwit narcissist who surrounds himself with toadies.
And it was a very, very strong, deep Hasidic community. And their politics were very... I don't know what the right word is, but like you...
He's like, I don't know what the right word is. Very Jewy. Very Jewy politics.
Unique to that area is the right way to say it, I suppose. When there were protests over certain issues, it was this one, like COVID lockdown. They were protesting specifically them. You could point out Jewish people in New York are protesting. Nobody got mad about that. They get mad that like a handful of rich people are hurting you, so you blame those guys. You know, the people in New York City, the Hasidic Jews were being chased and beaten in the street. Like, that's bad. That shouldn't happen just because they're Jewish. Those people with those clothes are not doing anything to anybody. They're minding their own business. They're having families. They're going to synagogue. They're good.
Yeah, and this is the problem with the imprecise nature of which these accusations are mounted and thrown out. Is that like you have to acknowledge that you're not talking about the vast majority of human beings, of any particular race or whatever. You just have to do that. You have to do that. It ends up being more of just a class thing, and then it gets mixed in with like kind of tribal allegiances and who's working for what. But really, you're looking at nepotism. You're looking at nepotism and greed, and the way that interacts with people. And there's historical reasons for that.
Good people.
And evil, greedy corporate people that are using corporations to control the world should not hide behind the veil of a religion. If you're going to call yourself Jewish and you're not living by the tenets of the faith, then you're...
Yeah, they don't... They're secular. They're just Jewish by race. They don't consider themselves religious Jews at all.
Demon. If you're doing that with Christianity, then you're abusing reality. And you're not. You're good.
I feel like we're about to go into a sermon.
Julie Bear says, I picked a good night to be a first-time listener. I mean, maybe not.
It's a night.
Seshi asks, what's my personal opinion on Nick? Have you tuned into much of his stuff? I've listened to actually quite a bit of it, just because I am a purveyor of those kinds of things. In terms of just like internet subcultures and people that are involved in the internet, I'm pretty well apprised of a lot of those people. Even some of the ones that are like the miscreants of the web. I don't like disagree with like some of what he says. But I think the idea that you were to take your political opinions from a 23-year-old who has no real workable life experience at all, and I think that becomes more and more obvious the older he gets. It was like impressive when he was like 19 or 20, like his political acumen, his understanding of history, etc. And then at some point, it's that trick wears off. It just wears off. It just stops being impressive. And then you just become an internet shitlord, an edgelord. And that seems to be like what he's kind of made of himself. Not necessarily all by his own choice, though. I don't know. I've never been a huge fan of him, honestly. Tigerkin says the tenets of Judaism and Islam allow overt abuse and lying to outsiders where Buddhism and Christianity do not. You're not wrong. It does. It's all about like the principle, the faith, about what gets you to the end result. Kind of the ends justify the means. Guy on Buffalo says Tim Pool blew this interview and then just copes and projects for an hour and a half. You know, probably not completely wrong. I don't know if it's like coping necessarily. I don't think he did enough to warrant somebody walking out on him. I think he I don't know. I don't know if he intentionally meant it to be that way, but like it feels like it was a little bit of a trap. A little bit of a trap, just like every interview with Kanye will be for the rest of his fucking life. I don't think it was that different.
To listen to anything.
Yeah, also, like, this is not normally the structure of the show. We don't normally just play musical chairs.
Can we
when
turn
people
into a
show up.
drama show?
So we are the soap opera.
Mick Chilla says Milo knew exactly how it would look to connect Nick and Kanye to Trump. It's already kickstarted the racial argument against his campaign. Convenient Milo has been allowed to surface recently, and now this. I think...
Yeah, which is Tim Pool is a part of that. Tim Pool brought Milo back into the mainstream, but yeah, Milo Yiannopoulos is a slimy operator. There's nothing that is happening that Milo is not, like, working. He's working all the angles. He's working all that shit. Ceci says Shaun Zubox needs to be on Cozy TV. Yeah, I don't know if they let me on. They might. I don't know. I don't have a high enough profile to be on Cozy TV.
I think Elon's going to reinstate Milo, like, soon.
At Nero. I believe is
at Nero.
And potentially Nick, too.
Yeah. And he should.
Nero is an interesting username for a
That's a good
professed
name.
Catholic.
Funny. You could tell he was going through
that's true.
a hard,
Isn't it?
like
Maybe he'll change it.
like a nihilistic period when
Why
he made
couldn't
that.
we talk about that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate that...
Should have let off with a Twitter.
I should have just
article.
pressed record the moment they sat down.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, literally should have.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a big mistake on my part.
Hindsight.
But let him know beforehand, of course.
Well, no.
But if you had let them know, then it would have changed the whole vibe. So
Well, you just set a policy that we record from the moment that we step into the studio to the moment we walk out. Just for for future reference.
But it's so weird that when the cameras were not rolling, the conversation was calm and about faith, philosophy. And when we got into the stuff about, like when I said, I know it's going to come up, I'll push back. They said, we want to talk about the Christian values that need to be restored in this country. And I was like, well, that's interesting. But then instantly it devolves into, I am going to make these assertions and demand that no one actually ask any questions.
I got to
about
ask Ye this question, but I wonder if there's a difference between doing a show pre-recorded where there's 6 of us listening to it or doing one live where there's 50,000 people, 100,000 people also.
No, they had 90,000 people watching this show when Kanye was on. Trembling says, Nick would be a cat boy for you, Shaun. That's sweeten the pot. Not really. He's not my type. He's not my type of cat boy. I need somebody with more overt feminine features.
That energy of those 100,000 people was heightening the situation because at one point I looked down at my keyboard and kind of lost track. And that was when Kanye was like, it was that exact moment that Kanye was like, I don't remember why I brought up kids. I was thinking about 7 things. I was like, God, I just lost track of it. And then so did he.
That was my...
Ian's just like, listen, I was on the same wavelength as Kanye during this interview. Okay? If you had brought me in, if you had me part of the process, I could have saved this for you, Tim. You shouldn't doubt me. Graphene.
One of my favorite moments when he's like, yeah, sometimes I'm just thinking about 7 things. I was like, I 100% relate to you right now. It can be
did
really...
he have a
of
screen
course
in
you
front
do.
of him, or was he just...
No.
Okay.
All brilliant people think about 7 things at the same time. They're all brilliant and they all understand.
DJZ says Lex also tried to be the one to correct Ye's wrongthink. That's why he says it's the same. Save adversarial questions for the 2 debaters. Or do you mean same adversarial? I literally wanted to be like, yeah, you're allowed to think what you want to think. I'm not. I don't think I'm going to change his mind. That's why I told him before the show, like, people know you're saying these things. Obviously, people disagree with what you're saying. Obviously, you found people who agree with you. Tell me about what you're doing in politics and what happened with Trump. Explain now that you're in these prominent positions. Now you're in the news. You're having an impact. Tell the people why. Well, he did. He did. When I said, why politics, why Trump, he said, Jewish people. Well, okay, the people heard it loud and clear. That's exactly what your campaign and platform is, and now they know. And this is why I believe in free speech. Because I genuinely thought they were going to try to have something to talk about. And if the only thing they can talk about is that they hate a group of people or they're concerned, I shouldn't say it like that, they're concerned a group of people have it out for them, no one's going to vote for you, and you will not amass any political power. And it turns out sunlight might actually be the best disinfectant.
Yeah.
Oh, see, Tim's just like he just burned you. He's like, I got to use my perspective, and you fucked it up for yourself. You fucked it up for yourself. Honestly, that dude walking out was a mistake, giant mistake. Because now the media, Tim Pool, everybody here gets to speculate, gets to frame it in the way that they want to frame it. You've lost control. Walking away is just a loss of control.
C'est la vie. C'est la vie. I want to say this. I'm not mad at them. I don't know exactly what happened. I'm trying to text them and say, like, what's going on. I'm not going to cry about it. You know what I mean? These things happen. And I'll say it again. Ye owes me nothing. Literally nothing. He's his own guy. I hope he finds his path, man. I hope he finds his path. All right, let's just try and grab a couple more here. Some of the later ones. All right. Brian says, Ye's point about the black vote versus the Jews and identitarianism was spot on. How do you reconcile that? I did, and I'll reconcile it again. The black vote is a handful of working class, poor, wealthy, basically every single individual, and the tendencies they have towards voting.
Hold on. So he's just like, it's the way he's explaining it is like, well, it's a specific group of people, these types of people, it's just all black people. So, no, not really.
When Kanye is talking about Jewish people, he's not talking about cultural identity, politics, conservatism, tendencies to vote liberal or otherwise. He's saying because there's a handful of powerful, wealthy people who happen to be Jewish, it is Jewish people who have it out for me. And I'm like, like my guy and my employee who
are... that could be true, because it could just be based on, it could be like this very benign thing. Just could be about money. Just could be about business interests and you fucking up their stock or whatever. It could be about a million things.
Who are downstairs and are very Jewish. They actually like your music. They're fans. They just don't like what you're saying about them. They don't have it out for you at all. That's the distinction. Why insult people who actually like you? Why make them your enemies because you've chosen to attack their identity instead of the argument?
Yeah.
That's very different. If you want to come out and say, Jewish people in New York vote this way, nobody going to get mad at you. They're going to be like, that's true. They are very religious. They're conservative. They tend to vote these certain ways. If you're going to say that there are a lot of liberal Jewish people in New York that tend to vote this way, yeah, that's...
Tiger Kin says, what in the retarded world is the difference? Well, there isn't much of a difference in the way that they're framing it. There isn't much, because they're just saying like, well, certain demographics vote a certain way or act a certain way or do certain things because they're part of that demographic. So it is like a fair comparison. If you're gonna suggest a voting block, if the black vote, like they brought up, it's gonna vote a certain way because they're black, because of an immutable characteristic, because of the things they've been told by culture, etc. You could make the same inferences about black people. I mean, come on. Or Jewish people rather. Sorry.
It's called the demographic. We do that all the time. If you're going to come out and say that BLM is all black people and they're the ones causing the riots, you're wrong, because Black Lives Matter is actually a bunch of white people. Like yeah,
because people don't think that. Like nobody says that. Nobody says that. The people look at like Black Lives Matter as like this esoteric giant thing. I don't think they actually lay it at the feet of every black person. At least I never have. In the same way, I'll be honest, like I'm not really down with the overarching Zionist conspiracy theory. That's not really like something that comports to what I think of things. But I can see why how it gets there. I can see how it gets there. There's such a difficulty in accepting certain like modes of reality and who is responsible for what and who is involved in what, etc. And you're not allowed to call out individual actors. Like he could say, like Tim can say all the live long day, like, oh, well, you got to call out individual people, etc. And if you do, you're just going to be painted in the same light. I said this earlier. I was talking about this earlier. The George Soros. If you were to call out George Soros a couple years ago, you would be called an anti-Semite. That's what you would be called. It's shifted a little bit. But people will still make those same things. Guy in Buffalo says he only accepts identity when it's positive, then denies it when it's negative. Well, I've seen that. He does that with his own identity politics. Tigerkin says, I got kicked off of Twitter for calling Tim Pool a Shabos Goy retard, but I am back and doubling down.
I hate that people are, I just put it that, look, man, I'm in Portland and I'm watching the Proud Boys march and I'm looking at Antifa. Antifa is a bunch of white people screaming racial slurs at a black Proud Boy. And I'm like, you see, man? And they call the Proud Boys white supremacists. And I've told the story before. The black Proud Boy got angry and he took it personally and he went to cross the street, cross the line between the cops, and a white Proud Boy stopped him and said, stop, don't let them get to you, man. They're trying to get to you. And he grabbed his hand and said, you're my brother. We're brothers. Don't take the bait. Something like that. And I was like, that's so crazy. When it was Antifa in front of an ICE detention center screaming racial.
Yeah, because it's not Antifa, the entity that like people are talking about when they talk about like Jewish people. They're talking about who funds these things. Who's behind the social engineering that promulgates this shit. Oftentimes George Soros that name will come up. Because they funnel tons of money into organizations that are tangentially connected and give money to these organizations, these groups.
Slurs at a black ICE agent. I'm like, dude, these are the people that I have a problem with. The racists, the anti-Semites, the people who think that your worth is based on what you look like or how or your religion identity. No. Obviously, religion plays a bigger role than your race. Certain religions are very, very, extreme. I get it. But I'm going to talk to someone about their ideas and have an argument as an individual and not blame an entire group of people. I get it, man. And I'll say this.
Well, but if your argument is that a group of people are doing you wrong, then that's your argument. So that's part of the fabric of what you have to say. I mean, like, if you're not going to stand there and listen to somebody else push back against that, that's on you. But, like, that is a legitimate part of the argument that this person is having because that's their perspective.
This too, obviously demographics have beliefs and directions, but Kanye wasn't talking about that. He was saying they, referring to Jewish people, are trying to take his money and put him in jail. And I'm like, dude, they are not. Some people are. The overwhelming majority, 99.99999, don't. In fact, I bet a whole bunch of them actually are fans. Until you started saying this stuff.
That was the vague moment that everything got heightened and then he left.
Because I was talking about establishment powers, elites, corporate press, the people who want power.
So, Tim will use these vague things if he's saying they, and then he's making a bunch of assumptions and assertions about other people in power. So he, in his own way, he's doing the same thing that Kanye West is doing, just in a way more vague terms. Just way more vague terms, but he's making the same accusations. Like saying they is such a broad construct of like, who is to blame? Who is to blame? Who are the people that are to blame? He's not like naming individuals. That's not what Tim Pool was doing. He wasn't naming individuals. He was saying they because he wanted to appeal to this construct. This thing that everybody's supposed to understand. Oh, they are out to get you. The government, the media, etc. And Kanye West has just done that in a way more, to his mind, a more direct way of saying the same fucking thing, honestly.
Or the woke. This is the thing. When we say woke, they think Jewish people.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Wait,
because
who's they? I think I know who you're.
when Ye and them, like before the show, when I mentioned something about cancel culture, he said he didn't say woke SJW. He said Jewish people.
I see.
And I was like, you don't seriously.
People are
think
kind of
that.
creating a demon creature, like the woke mob. Like we've kind of created that, or at least I feel like I have inadvertently, that I've created like a demon. Because who is it? I don't know.
Boogeyman.
Until I see their eyes.
It's a reference to a cult ideology.
Yeah.
It's a reference to an idea. And I'll even say this. I say it all the time. Like I have friends who are leftists, and people are like, "Tim's lying. It's not true." I'm like, "No, dude, it's literally true." When that tweet went viral, where I said that there was a grooming thing at Club Q, and that we need to prevent the violence but also stop grooming, they tried claiming that I was promoting. Like, here's the funny thing: they're like spamming my Wikipedia, trying to claim I endorsed this or condone it. I'm like, "Yo, my tweet thread was literally like, stop advocating for violence against people, even the people you hate the most. We need law enforcement to handle these things." They take it completely out of context.
But Tim doesn't believe in law enforcement because he fancies himself an anarchist. I guess Michael Malice hasn't been to the compound in a while and needs to have his memory refreshed.
When I said that, I have leftist friends who are like, "Bro, how could you tweet that?" And I had to talk to them and argue with them and be like, "Guys, that's not what I'm saying." And they're like, "Yeah, but the way it came off." And I'm like, "Well, so be it, dude. Like, I literally said, stop calling for violence, stop advocating for violence. If you think it's the other way around, then that's you, not me." Anyway, you guys want to get any final thoughts before I guess we wrap up?
You go first.
No.
Are we gonna go in a circle?
Over to Leonard.
Hold the stick.
I'm good. I think we already went around in circles a couple times.
Yeah, I feel like all I have to say is what I've said at least 57 times, which is like RIP, this really interesting conversation that could have been.
Is this our
we wish
outro?
we knew you.
I think this is the outro, yeah.
I'll say Kanye, come back.
Yeah.
Man.
Come back to pop culture.
Look,
No, just on my show, please.
His name is Yes. I mean, that's the slang for yes. Yeah.
Yay.
But could you
it means
imagine?
Yes.
Look, we wanted
Yay or nay.
Ye was going to go on Pop Culture Crisis too, with Milo. But could you imagine?
I know.
Like, there's a new movie out from Disney. Yeah, man, but those Jewish people. What? Dude, come on.
Yeah.
I like, bro, we got
Guess it wouldn't have gone very well either way.
Yeah.
a few minutes into the show and he went right off. Shout out Danny Polish-Truck with that tweet. That you nailed it. I can't believe the thing he's been talking about for 2 months came up on the show. Sure, but right away. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Share the show with your friends. We do have a behind-the-scenes, uncensored view. We filmed them on the trip out here and then probably storming off. And we're going to put it up. I think we're going to have it up tomorrow. And
so it's not up yet. It might be up tomorrow. So maybe I'll come back on if Prophet's not doing a show on Wednesday. I'll come back. I'll do the Tim Pool, Adam Krigler drama, and clean this up.
I think it might be going up as Cast Castle. I'm not sure. Like an overt real vlog, I guess.
Just check everything, man.
It'll be on the
You'll find
website.
it.
You'll see it, and we're gonna put it up. It is what it is, and then we'll shout it out, I suppose. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. Follow us on Instagram. You can follow me personally at Timcast.
Well, there you have it, everybody. Tim Pool talked to Kanye West. Things did not go well. You know, honestly, bad move on Kanye to leave. Bad move. He kind of just fucked himself, honestly. And and I just have to imagine that Milo Yiannopoulos is giggling. He's having himself a gay old time. Giggling about this.